Chapter 77. At the appointed time, Qin Haodong took the little fellow to the gate of Jiangnan Art Museum. But he didn't see the teacher, Wang Jiani. They waited for a while, and then Wang Jiani came to them in a hurry. Miss Wang, we are here. The little fellow waved her little hands and kept shouting. Qin Haodong saw that Wang Jiani looked very pale today, and there were tears on her face as if she had just cried. Asked, Miss Wang, what happened? Nothing. I just got up a little late. Sorry. Wang Jiani said and squeezed out a smile, which looked very stiff. Let's go in. I'm the only one in our class. Qin Haodong nodded, and when he was about to take the little fellow into the art museum, he saw a group of people coming. Among the crowd was a middle-aged couple, holding a little boy of 4 or 5 years old in their arms. Next to them was a young woman with a flattering face, and behind them were 7 or 8 bodyguards in black suits. The young woman was also a teacher of Gold Branch Jade Leaf Kindergarten. Her name was Zhao Yinyan. Wang Jiani was in charge of the first class of the kindergarten, and she was in charge of the second class. The little boy was Wang Guan, a friend of Zhao Yinyan's class. He was also here for the competition today. With Wang Guan as the center, these people came to the door like stars surrounding the moon. When they were about to enter the door, Wang Guan saw the little fellow in Qin Haodong's arms and shouted, Tang Tang, go home. The championship is mine. They were all in the same kindergarten. They often played together and knew each other very well. Of course, the little fellow was not convinced. Wang Guan, you're bragging again. I sing better than you. Why should you be the champion? I'm the champion. I'm the champion. Not only will I get the first place in today's competition, but I'll also be the champion in the final. You can ask Miss Zhao if you don't believe me. Wang Guan said with certainty. Zhao Yinyan said flatteringly, that's right. You sing so well. You'll definitely be the champion today. The little fellow was not happy and said, Miss Zhao, you're wrong. Wang Guan's singing is terrible. He sounds like a duck quacking. Quack. Wang Jiani said to Zhao Yinyan, Teacher Zhao, we are just the staff of the kindergarten. We brought our children to participate in the competition. We have no right to say who is the champion. Zhao Yinyan looked at Wang Jiani and then glanced at Qin Haodong next to her. Her eyes were full of disdain. Such a rare opportunity to participate in the competition should be used to make friends with a rich parent, but the young man beside Wang Jiani did not look like a rich person. Although Wang Guan's singing was terrible, his father was Wang Hongbing, a famous real estate developer in Jiangnan. He had promised to sell her a house at a 50% discount. Mr. Wang, you don't have to say anything. Wang Guan will be the champion today. Just wait and see. That's impossible. The competition hasn't even started. How can they know who the champion is? And our classmate Tang Tang's singing is really good. I've already told you that the first place today will belong to our Wang Guan. Stop talking nonsense. Was the middle-aged woman, Wang Guan's mother Ma Hong, who spoke. She glanced at Wang Jiani and Qin Haodong and said arrogantly, Our Wang family is rich, and my father is the deputy director of the Cultural Bureau. If Wang Guan doesn't win the first place today, will it be yours? Wang Jiani said, Madam, we are here to compete in singing, not to compare whose family is rich. The first place depends on whose song is better. And it's not up to you to decide. It's up to the judges to decide. Ma Hong laughed and her face was full of disdain. Judges? It's all because our Wang clan tells them to say whatever they want. After all, they're all working for my father. Wang Hongbing said, Well, let's go in. Then a dozen of them entered the venue arrogantly. Wang Guan did not forget to show off to the little fellow. I'm the champion. I'm the champion. Of course, the little fellow was unhappy. She said to Qin Haodong with grievance, Papa, is what they said true? Can't I win the first place? Qin Haodong said, Of course not. As long as you sing well, you will win the first place today. Great. I'll sing well and win the first place. The little fellow was excited again. Miss Wang, let's go in. Qin Haodong said and walked into the venue with the little fellow, followed by Wang Jiani. I really don't know what these people are thinking. How can they educate their children like this? Wang Jiani shook her head as she walked. Participating in the competition is good for the growth of children. But if they spoil their children in this way, it will only be counterproductive. Qin Haodong said, Don't worry about those people. As long as the little fellow performs well. Wang Jiani said, Mr. Qin, you should be mentally prepared. Wang Guan's parents are really powerful. And no one can predict what will happen now. Tang Tang's participation in the competition is more about the process than the result. And today is the preliminaries. The top 10 can participate in the semi-finals tomorrow night. Qin Haodong smiled. He could tell that Wang Jiani was giving him a heads up. It seemed that she had no confidence that Tang Tang could win the first place. Don't worry, Miss Wang. I believe that the judges are fair. As long as the little fellow sings well, she will win the first place. Wang Jiani opened her mouth but did not say anything. But it was obvious that she did not agree with Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong did not continue this topic. He turned to the little fellow and said, Tang Tang, what song are you going to sing today? The little fellow said mysteriously, it's a secret. I'll let Papa know later. So mysterious. You're keeping it a secret from Papa? That's why I'm keeping it a secret from Papa. The little fellow giggled. At 9 a.m. the competition started on time. The little fellow was number 6. And the number 5 in front of her was Wang Guan. Soon it was Wang Guan's turn. As soon as he got on the stage before he could sing, there was a burst of applause. Obviously, these people were arranged by the Wang family. The song that Wang Guan sang was Little Neza. This song was very familiar to everyone. However, when it came out of Wang Guan's mouth, it sounded disjointed and terrible, which ruined the image of this song in people's hearts. Some of the audience secretly grinned. Some couldn't help sneering, and some even covered their ears. Upon the stage, Wang Guan was very intoxicated with the song. He was so excited that he did not sing in tune at all. Finally, he finished singing the song, and the audience breathed a sigh of relief. Led by Wang Hongbing, the Wang family applauded again and kept cheering. Papa, his singing is terrible. The little fellow frowned and said. Qin Haodong said, it doesn't matter. The next one is Tang Tang. Tang Tang will sing a nice song for everyone. This time the host on the stage shouted, let's welcome number 6, Tang Tang. Her song is I Want to Find My Dad. Standing under the stage, Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. He did not expect that the little fellow would choose this song. No wonder she kept it a secret from him. Tang Tang went on the stage and sang loudly in front of the audience without any stage fright. Not afraid of the falling rain, not afraid of the falling snow, not afraid of the cold wind and snow. Can see him, can see his face every day / not afraid of the heavy wind and snow. I want to find my dad / wherever I go. I want to find my dad. The little fellow's voice was sweet, and she sang very emotionally. Thinking of the children's ridicule and her longing for her dad, she even shed 2 lines of tears as she sang. Looking at the little fellow who performed to her heart's content on the stage, Qin Haodong was full of guilt. He owed his daughter too much these years. Unconsciously, a cloud of mist rose in his eyes. The audience was moved by the little fellow's performance. When the song ended, many people's eyes were full of tears. After a short silence, the audience burst into warm applause. There would be no harm if there was no comparison. They were both young actors in the competition, but compared with Wang Guan, the little guy sang much better. After getting off the stage, the little fellow happily threw herself into Qin Haodong's arms, although there were still tears on her face. Papa, did I sing this song for you? Can you give me the first place? Qin Haodong kissed his daughter's smooth little face again and again, and said lovingly, Tang Tang, you sing so well. The first place is definitely yours. Wang Jiani didn't expect the little fellow to perform so well. She also said excitedly, Tang Tang, you sing so well. You will definitely be a big star in the future. A big star like Ouyang Shanshan? The little fellow blinked her big eyes and asked. Even better than her. Wang Jiani said. Great, I'm going to be a big star, I'm going to be a big star. The little fellow laughed more and more happily. Upon the other side of the stage, Wang Guan also seemed to feel the threat from Tang Tang. He said to Ma Hong with uncertainty, Mom, can I still be the champion? Ma Hong said, of course you can. You are a member of the Wang family. It doesn't matter how well they sing. The morning passed slowly. The 20 young contestants all performed on the stage one after another. It was time for the judges to make the final judgment. Today's preliminaries did not adopt the method of scoring on the spot. Instead, after the competition, each judge would give their own scores to the contestants one by one, and then the final score would be summed up. The 7 judges huddled together and whispered to each other with a troubled look on their faces. There were a total of 20 young contestants, and the other 18 were easy to score. It was the little fellow and Wang Guan who were the most difficult ones to score. The little fellow sang the best. In terms of singing ability, she deserved the first place. But Wang Guan was a member of the Wang family. Although his singing was terrible, Wang Hongbing had already informed the judges before the competition. What's more, Wang Guan's grandfather was the deputy director of the Cultural Bureau, so the judges had to respect him. At last, the chief judge made the final decision. According to the original plan, Wang Guan won the first place, and number 6 contestant Tang Tang was the second. But he didn't do it himself. Instead, he asked the deputy chief judge to make the announcement on the stage. The deputy chief judge secretly grinned, but he had no choice. After all, he was the deputy chief judge. He could only follow the arrangement and walk to the stage with the microphone. Fortunately, he was also an experienced man. He had mastered the skill of lying with his eyes wide open. Today, all the young contestants performed very well, especially Wang Guan. At such a young age, you have a hoarse singing style, and you can interpret the nursery rhyme with the charm of rock and roll. It's really commendable. The judges have unanimously decided that the first place of today's competition is number 5 contestant Wang Guan. Soon as his voice fell, the scene immediately became noisy, and there was a lot of noise. What the F***? It's so shady, such an awful voice. How can you say it's hoarse? Can it be any more fake? None of your words are on point. How can you say it's rock and roll? Why don't you go to heaven? I heard that number 5 kid's family is very rich. His father is a real estate developer. It seems that it's time to rely on his father. Chapter 78. Hearing the result, Wang Guan immediately jumped up and shouted happily, "Oh, the first place! I'm the first place!" Wang Hongbing and Ma Hong's faces were also filled with pride. In front of the Wang family's powerful strength, everything else was just fleeting clouds. Although their son and the little girl sang very well, so what? The first place is still my son's. It doesn't matter whether he sings well or not. What matters is having a good father. The little fellow immediately felt wronged. Papa, I didn't sing well? Why didn't I get the first place? Wang Jiani sighed. What she expected had happened. She comforted the little fellow. Tang Tang, don't be sad. It's okay. Even if we can't get the first place, we can still pass the preliminaries. We can continue to work hard. Qin Haodong sneered and thought, competing for father? In this world, could there be a father more powerful than him, Emperor Greenwood? He said to the little fellow, Tang Tang, don't worry. In fact, you are the first place. It's just that the referee made a mistake. Wait here, I'll go and remind them now. Then he put the little fellow in Wang Jiani's arms and strode to the referee's seat. In front of the chief judge, Qin Haodong said, "The result you announced is wrong. The first place should be contestant number 6. The chief judge didn't expect that someone would question their judgment. Although the result was against his will, in order to maintain the authority of the referee, he would never allow others to question it. He raised his head and was about to reprimand this person who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth when he suddenly changed his words. You're right. We just made a mistake. I'll go and correct it now. After that, he strode to the stage, grabbed the microphone from the deputy chief referee, and said, There's an error in the announcement just now. I'd like to correct it. The first place of this competition is contestant number 6, Tang Tang. Suddenly, the audience was silent. No one expected that the result announced by the deputy chief judge would be changed by the chief judge in the blink of an eye. But this result was more in line with everyone's expectation. This was the result they wanted. This was the fair judgment. Suddenly, the audience burst into thunderous applause. I'm the first place. I'm the first place. The little fellow danced with joy. She hugged Qin Haodong's neck and kissed him several times. Papa is great. Papa is awesome. Wang Jiani looked at Qin Haodong in surprise and asked incredulously, How did you do that? It's very simple. The head judge is a very reasonable person. I told him that the result was wrong and he immediately corrected it, Chin Haodong said with a smile. He couldn't tell the little girl that he had used the mind-manipulating skill. The mind-manipulating technique was the upgraded version of the mind-bewitching technique. The mind-bewitching technique could make people reveal their true thoughts, while the mind-manipulating technique could make people do things according to their own thoughts. Since the other party wanted to compete with his father, and since the judge feared the strength of the Wang family, then he could only use his own strength to give the little fellow justice. Wang Jianni's face was full of disbelief, but the truth was right in front of her, and she couldn't find any other suitable excuse. The Wangs were in a complete mess. Seeing that the first place he had just won was gone, Wang Guan burst into tears. He punched Wang Hongbing and shouted, "You said that I would definitely get the first place because I'm a member of the Wangs. Why is it gone now? How did that hateful little girl get first place? Does she sing better than me?" "Son, don't worry. I'll go and have a look." Wang Hongbing didn't expect that the judge, whom he had already greeted, wouldn't give face to the Wangs. He went to the judge's seat angrily. "Chief Judge, what's wrong? Shouldn't my son be the first?" The chief judge glanced at him fearlessly. He didn't give face to him just because he was the master of the Wangs. The little girl sang well, so she should get the first place. This is the most fair result. What? No matter how good she is, can she be better than my son? Don't forget that my son is a member of the Wangs. His grandfather often praised him for his good singing. Although Wang Hongbing was angry, he was still rational. He tactfully reminded the chief judge that they were members of the Wangs, and his father-in-law was the deputy director of the Cultural Bureau. However, the chief judge acted as if he had taken some strong medicine and didn't give him face at all. He said angrily, "What Wangs? I treat everyone equally. Your son wants to get the first place? Why don't you take a piss and take a picture?" Wang Hongbing was furious. He pointed at the chief judge and shouted, "Stop pretending. Don't forget what you did yesterday." He was so angry that he wanted to expose the fact that he had given the chief judge a gift yesterday. The deputy judge hurriedly stopped him and said, "Mr. Wang, please calm down. It won't be good for anyone if this matter is exposed." Although the deputy judge didn't know what was wrong with the chief judge, it wouldn't be good for anyone if this matter was exposed. That was why he stood out to stop him. Wang Hongbing thought about it and realized that it was true. He glared at the chief judge, but he suppressed his anger in the end. The deputy judge said, "Mr. Wang, although your son can't get the first place today, I can give him the second place. He can still participate in the semifinal. I believe you can win the championship at that time." Wang Hongbing knew that this was the only way. He snorted and went back to the Wangs. Then the deputy judge went to the stage again to announce the ranking of the other contestants. Wang Guan became the second place instead of the first place. Chin Haodong didn't care about this. He was not a savior. He just wanted to make sure that the little fellow could get a fair treatment. When he stopped the mind manipulating, the chief judge suddenly shivered as if he had a nightmare. But it had happened and the Wangs had been offended. There was no medicine for regret. In this way, the preliminaries ended like a farce. But the ranking was still valid. The little fellow was informed to participate in the semi-final at 8 o'clock the next night. After winning the first place today, the little fellow happily followed Chin Haodong out of the gate of the art gallery. Wang Jianni was also very happy to accompany the father and daughter. After all, the little fellow was her student. She was proud of her good results. "Tang Tang, do well. I believe you can also win the championship in the final." Okay. I want to be the champion. I want to be a superstar." The little fellow shouted happily and ran forward quickly. Suddenly, a group of people blocked her way. It was Wang Hongbing and his family, followed by 7 or 8 bodyguards. The little fellow sensed that these people were not friendly. She quickly turned around and ran back, hugging Chin Haodong's leg. Holding the little fellow in his arms, Chin Haodong looked at Wang Hongbing and asked, "What's the matter?" Ma Hong said, "Your daughter took the first place from my son. Now you must apologize to him and promise that you won't participate in tomorrow's competition." Although Wang Guan was young, He had learned most of his parents' arrogance. He also shouted, "She took the first place from me. She must apologize to me." The little fellow immediately regained her courage when she was in Qin Haodong's arms. She shouted defiantly, "The first place is mine. Your singing is terrible." Wang Jiani said, "Wang Guan's mother, you're wrong. Children compete with their own strength. It was the referee who gave the first place to Tang Tang. How can you blame others? And you have no right to stop her from participating in tomorrow's competition. Who do you think you are?" Ma Hong immediately showed the face of a shrew. She pointed at Wang Jiani's nose and shouted, "If we respect you, we'll call you teacher. If we don't respect you, you're nothing in front of the Wangs. Believe it or not, I can ask the headmaster to expel you with a phone call. How can you be like this? How can you be a parent?" Wang Jiani's face turned red with anger. Her chest heaved violently. Ma Hong continued to shout arrogantly, "Little girl, I don't need you to teach me how to be a parent. If you know what's good for you, get out of my way or I'll fire you tomorrow." Wang Jiani still wanted to say something, but Qin Haodong pulled her behind him. He said coldly to the shrew Ma Hong, "A good dog doesn't stand in the way. Get out of my way." Seeing that the young man didn't respect the Wangs at all, Wang Hongbing's face darkened. "Boy, do you know who you're talking to?" "Yes, the Wangs." Qin Haodong said indifferently, "You're a real estate developer, and your father-in-law is the deputy director of the Cultural Bureau." Wang Hongbing said arrogantly, "Good. Do as my wife says. Ask your daughter to apologize to my son, and don't come to the competition tomorrow night." "No, I want to compete. I want to be the champion," the little fellow said unhappily. Wang Guan yelled, "Don't come means don't come. If you come again, I'll ask my father to beat your father." The little fellow said, "You're bragging. My papa is the most powerful man. I'm not afraid of your papa." Ma Hong yelled, "Shut up, little girl. Your father is just a gigolo. How can he be compared with our Wangs?" Qin Haodong glanced at Wang Hongbing and the others, and said with a playful face, "Did you bring money?" Ma Hong was slightly stunned and said, "Of course. Our Wangs are never short of money." Wang Hongbing said, "Do you want some money? As long as your daughter doesn't come to the competition tomorrow night, I can give you 10,000 yuan. Qin Haodong waved his hand and said with a smile, "No, I'm afraid that you won't have enough money to pay the hospitalization fee when you go to the hospital." Wang Hongbing's face turned cold, and he said angrily, "Boy, you're courting death." He waved his hand and yelled to the bodyguards behind him, "Teach this boy a lesson. Let him know how powerful he is." His bodyguards were already eager to fight. They didn't take the young man who looked like he had no muscles seriously. After hearing their master's order, they immediately rushed to Qin Haodong. The bodyguard who rushed to the front punched Qin Haodong in the face. He wanted to perform well in front of his master. It would be ideal if he could get a raise next month. Unexpectedly, as soon as he punched out, he flew backward and smashed the two bodyguards behind him to the ground before he even touched Qin Haodong's clothes. Qin Haodong kicked the bodyguard away. Holding the little fellow in his arms, Qin Haodong kicked Wang Hongbing's bodyguards to the ground like kicking a ball. "Great, great, Papa is great." The little fellow clapped her hands happily. Wang Jiani was afraid that Qin Haodong would suffer. She took out her mobile phone to call the police, but before she finished dialing the 3-digit number, all the people in front of her had been knocked to the ground. Chapter 79. Wang Hongbing and Ma Hong were dumbfounded. They wanted to teach this young man a lesson and let them know how powerful the Wang family was. They didn't expect that their bodyguards would be taught a lesson so soon. Qin Haodong walked to them with the little fellow in his arms and said happily, "You want to bully others? You're not qualified." Then he stretched out his right hand as fast as lightning. After a few muffled sounds, Wang Hongbing and Ma Hong's faces had 4 huge panda eyes. After teaching these two arrogant guys a lesson, Qin Haodong glanced at Wang Guan, who was standing next to him. He patted his face and said, "Little fellow, you have to work hard in the future. You can't rely on your father for everything. Besides, you're not qualified at all." After saying that, he left with the little fellow and Wang Jiani. Wang Hongbing felt so wrong that his eyes were burning with anger. Usually it was the Wang family who bullied others. He had never been bullied like this. Seeing the bodyguards lying on the ground, he became more and more angry. He rushed up and kicked them hard. You're all King useless. Why do I keep you? Get out of here. Get out of here. In his opinion, it was because of his incompetence that he was trampled by this young man. After venting his anger, he fired all the bodyguards. PMA Hong said with a pair of panda eyes, honey, I can't take it lying down. Wang Hongbing gritted his teeth and said, I can't take it lying down either. This guy thinks he can do whatever he wants just because he knows some martial arts. I must let him know how powerful the Wang family is. What should we do? Call the police? Ma Hong asked. Call the police? Are you brainless? Even if you don't think it's shameful, I will. He glared at Ma Hong. The Wang family was taught a lesson by a poor boy, and he still wanted to call the police. If this news spread, he would be unable to live in Jiangnan City. But that boy toy is so powerful that our bodyguards are no match for him. What's so great about knowing a few moves? Our current bodyguards are trash, but our Wang family has money. We can find better bodyguards. Wang Hongbing said. Now it is said that the bodyguards of Daddy's security company are very powerful. I will go there now. I must find the best bodyguards and teach this guy a lesson. Qin Haodong didn't know that. He drove away from the art gallery with Wang Jiani. Where are you going, Mr. Wang? I'll take you. Qin Haodong said. Sorry to trouble you to send me home. Wang Jiani said. Today is Sunday. Aren't you going out with your boyfriend? Qin Haodong asked casually. Wang Jiani's expression stiffened, and she didn't say anything. Qin Haodong also noticed her strangeness, but he thought it was her privacy, so he didn't ask more. Soon they arrived at the location that Wang Jiani had mentioned. Goodbye, teacher. The little fellow waved at Wang Jiani. After greeting the father and daughter, Wang Jiani opened the door and got out of the car. But before she could take a few steps, a figure suddenly jumped out from the side and grabbed her arm. Smelly whore, I finally found you. Pitt was a young man in his 30s who was dressed in a famous brand suit. He was good-looking, but his frivolous face made people feel uncomfortable. Dongchao, why are you here? Wang Jiani was shocked when she saw the man. Why am I here? How dare you ask me? You are my wife. Why don't you stay at home? Why are you running around? Dongchao glanced at Wang Jiani lecherously. You must have hooked up with a lot of men these days. You are getting more and more coquettish, and your breasts are getting bigger. Let's go. Let me have some fun. Then he grabbed Wang Jiani and dragged her into the building. Dongchao, you bastard. Let go of me. Wang Jiani struggled hard, but she was no match for the strong Dongchao. She was dragged forward for 3 or 4 meters. Finally, she had no choice but to bite Dongchao's arm. Pia! Bitch, how dare you bite me? Dongchao looked down at his hand, which was bitten and bleeding. He was furious and raised his hand to slap Wang Jiani's face. But before his hand fell, it was caught by someone like an iron pincer, and he couldn't move anymore. Dongchao looked back and saw a young man about 20 years old grabbing his wrist and holding a 4 or 5-year-old girl in his arms. Bad guy, don't bully teacher Wang. The little fellow shouted at Dongchao. Qin Haodong also said coldly, you are a man. How dare you hit a woman? Where did you come from? I'm teaching my wife a lesson. It's none of your business. Get out of here. Dongchao struggled for a while, but failed to get rid of Qin Haodong's arm. He was so angry that he let go of Wang Jiani and slapped Qin Haodong's face with his other hand. Go to hell. Qin Haodong shouted coldly and slapped Dongchao's face. Dongchao was thrown 3 or 4 meters away and fell to the ground with a thud. Great. Great. Bad guy, if you bully teacher Wang again, I'll ask Papa to beat you. He got up from the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. He didn't dare to mess with Qin Haodong again. Instead, he pointed at Wang Jiani and scolded, you bitch, no wonder you came to Jiangnan City behind my back. It turns out that you have a wild man here and have a child. Watch your mouth or I'll pull all your teeth out. Although Qin Haodong still had a harmonious smile on his face, Dongchao felt a great chill shrouding him. He couldn't help but tremble with fear. He regretted coming here in such a hurry that he didn't bring his bodyguards with him. Toy boy, I'm telling you. I'm from the Dong family in Shanghai. You can't mess with me. Pichin Haodong smiled and said, really? I did mess with you. What can you do? P-boy, don't think that I can't do anything to you in Jiangnan City. My cousin is a gangster in Jiangnan City. If he comes to you, you'll be in trouble. Get out of here. P, really? Then go ahead and search. Let's see how miserable you can make me. Pichin Haodong had a good impression of Wang Jiani. For the sake of the little fellow, he wanted to help her and get rid of this trouble. P-boy, wait and see. Don't run away if you dare. Dong Chao got up from the ground and took out his cell phone to make a call. Cousin, I was bullied by a toy boy in Jiangnan City. Come here quickly. Wang Jiani's face turned pale with fear. She pulled Qin Haodong's arm and said, Mr. Qin, you'd better hide. The Dong family is very powerful. Although we are in the south of the Yangtze River, I heard that his cousin is really a gangster. He's a famous gangster leader. Pichin Haodong said carelessly, don't worry. He's just a gangster. He can't do anything. The little fellow also said, yes, Mr. Wang. Papa is very powerful. Don't be afraid with him. I'm not afraid at all. Looking at his lovely daughter, Qin Haodong smiled knowingly. At this moment, his cell phone rang in his pocket. He took it out and found it was a call from Long Haisheng. It occurred to him that a week had passed in the blink of an eye. Today should be the day to see Long Xiaobao, Long Haisheng's son. He pressed the answer button and heard Long Haisheng said politely, Dr. Qin, are you busy? Do you have time to see Xiaobao? Pichin Haodong glanced at Dong Chao, who was on the phone next to him. He knew that he couldn't leave for the time being. He said, wait a minute. I have some trouble here. I'll be there as soon as I finish. Hearing that Qin Haodong was in trouble, Long Haisheng quickly said, you're in trouble. Can you tell me? He cared about Qin Haodong more than anyone else. Since the last treatment, his son Long Xiaobao had been back home every day. Now he had stopped dialysis and chemotherapy. Last night, he and his wife found that Xiaobao had short hairs on his head. They couldn't help but be surprised. Therefore, what he was most worried about now was that Qin Haodong would be in trouble, which would affect Long Xiaobao's treatment. Qin Haodong thought about it, and felt that it might be more convenient to let Long Haisheng deal with it, than to deal with it himself. He said, my friend is here. Someone wants to trouble her. Long Haisheng's face darkened and he cried, someone dares to trouble Dr. Qin's friend. Tell me the address, and I'll call Dafei immediately. All right. Qin Haodong glanced at the road sign next to him and told the specific location to Long Haisheng. He hung up the phone. Dong Chao also finished the phone call. He pointed at Qin Haodong and shouted arrogantly, toy boy, don't run away if you dare. Wait for my cousin to come. I'll teach you a lesson. Tell him to hurry up. My time is precious. Then he ignored Dong Chao and turned to Wang Jiani. Ms. Wang, what's going on? Can you tell me about it? Wang Jiani hesitated, but she finally nodded and said, actually, I'm married. My husband is this scumbag in front of me. 5 minutes later, Qin Haodong had learned the whole story. It turned out that when Wang Jiani just graduated from college, she met Dong Chao by chance at a dance party. Dong Chao disguised himself very well at that time. He was eloquent, good at dancing and singing. Wang Jiani, who was in love for the first time, was bewitched by his flowery words. Soon she married Dong Chao. But after they got married, she found that Dong Chao was pretending. He was actually a promiscuous man. Not only did he have sex with other women, but he also often took drugs and had promiscuous sex with others. Wang Jiani immediately asked for a divorce, but Dong Chao refused. Besides, the Dong family was very powerful in Shanghai. She couldn't get rid of them at all. This way, she was tortured by Dong Chao. A few months later, she was infected with a serious sexually transmitted disease. Later, she took the opportunity to treat her illness and escaped from Shanghai. She hid in Jiangnan and became a kindergarten teacher. It had been more than a year. Wang Jiani had thought that she could get rid of Dong Chao in this way. But she didn't know where the scumbag got the news. He first called Wang Jiani and asked her to go back to Shanghai immediately. It turned out that Dong Chao's call had something to do with Wang Jiani's bad mood in the morning. She didn't expect that Dong Chao would find her in Jiangnan just a few hours later. Qin Haodong sighed secretly. This woman was really childish. The Dong family must have located her location during the call. So they came to find her. Feeling that the woman was so pitiful, Qin Haodong asked, "What do you want to do?" Wang Jiani wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. There was only silence in her eyes. "What else can I do? I want to divorce him, but I can't. If there's no other way, I can only go back with him." Qin Haodong said, "If you really want to get rid of him, I can help you." Wang Jiani said, "No need. The Dong family is very powerful. You don't need to get into so much trouble because of me." Chapter 80. Big Trouble. Qin Haodong glanced at Dong Chao and said with a disdainful smile, "It's a piece of cake to deal with such a scumbag. It's not even trouble." "Boy, don't be so arrogant. When my cousin comes, you won't even have time to cry." As soon as Dong Chao finished speaking, several SUVs drove over quickly. More than 20 gangsters with steel pipes and machetes jumped out of the cars. The leader had a huge wolf head tattooed on his chest, looking extremely fierce. "Cousin, you're finally here. This guy seduced your sister-in-law in public and dared to hit me. You must teach him a lesson." "Don't worry. In Jiangnan, no one dares to mess with my brothers." Wolf patted Dong Chao's shoulder and said arrogantly, "It's so easy to deal with this toy boy. Cousin, tell me, what should I do to vent my anger?" Dong Chao looked at Qin Haodong and said with a ferocious face, "This guy dared to hit me just now. You must destroy his hands." "That's easy. Leave it to me," Wolf said and walked towards Qin Haodong. "The bad guys are coming. Papa, the bad guys are coming." The little fellow yelled first, but she looked very excited without any fear. She knew that she would not be afraid of any bad guys as long as her papa was here. "Toy boy, how dare you mess with my brothers? You must be tired of living. If you know what's good for you, destroy your hands and I'll let you go today." Qin Haodong looked at him and smiled. "Ask your bastard cousin to divorce my friend, and then pay 1,000,000 or 800,000, and I can let you go." Wolf's face turned cold. "Boy, do you know who you're talking to? Haven't you heard of Brother Wolf in Jiangnan?" Qin Haodong said, "I haven't heard of Wolf, but I've seen some wild dogs." The little fellow pointed at the tattoo on Wolf's chest and yelled, "Dog! What an ugly dog! Boy, you're courting death." Wolf waved his hand and shouted to the gangsters behind him, "Brothers, teach this guy a lesson." "Yes." The gangsters answered and rushed toward Qin Haodong, waving the weapons in their hands. At this moment a loud shout came, "Stop! I'll kill anyone who dares to touch me." "Who the F***ck dares to talk to me like that?" Wolf was furious. He turned around and saw more than a dozen black cars parked behind him. The car door opened and 20 or 30 men in black came out. The leader was a bald man, 1.9 meters tall with a ferocious face. He was Dafei, Long Haixing's #1 warrior. Wolf was dumbfounded when he saw Dafei. Although he was a well-known gangster in this area, he was far from Long Haixing, the underground controller. He couldn't even afford to provoke Dafei in front of him. "Big brother Dafei, why are you here?" Wild Wolf quickly put on a fawning expression, lowered his head, and bent his waist to approach Dafei. "Bastard, who gave you the courage to fight with Dr. Qin? Don't you know he is Brother Long's distinguished guest?" After Dafei finished speaking, he slapped Wolf in the face several times in succession. Most of Long Haixing's affairs were handed over to Dafei, so he had a high position in the minds of these gangsters. Seeing Wolf being beaten, his men were scared into silence, and no one dared to say a word. Although Wolf's mouth was bleeding, he didn't dare to show his dissatisfaction. He turned around and said, "Brother Dafei, who is Dr. Qin? I really don't know. Was your F***king head kicked by a donkey? This is Dr. Qin." Dafei slapped Wolf twice more, and then came to Qin Haodong respectfully. He bowed and said, "Dr. Qin, I'm sorry I'm late. This bastard made you angry." He was completely convinced by Qin Haodong's medical skills and ability, and his respect was completely from the heart. Qin Haodong said lightly, "It's okay. Do you know this puppy?" "Puppy?" Dafei was slightly stunned and quickly realized that Qin Haodong was talking about Wild Wolf. He hurriedly said, "Everyone in the underworld of Jiangnan knows Brother Long. This guy is the same, but he is not very popular, so we rarely meet." After that, he turned around and shouted to Wolf, Hurry up and apologize to Dr. Chin. Wolf was scared out of his wits at this time. As Dafei said, although he had some fame in the Jiangnan underworld, he was not popular at all in Brother Long's eyes. As long as Long Haisheng was unhappy, he would be kicked out of the Jiangnan underworld at any time. Dr. Chin, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I was blind and offended you. You don't look like you're apologizing. Kneel down quickly, Dafei said and slapped the back of Wild Wolf's head again. Wild Wolf knelt down on the ground and cursed Dong Chao's ancestors for 18 generations in his heart. If Dong Chao hadn't asked him to come here, he wouldn't have provoked such a big shot. Forget it. Get up. With the little fellow present, Qin Haodong didn't want to argue with Wolf too much. Thank you, Dr. Qin. Thank you, Dr. Qin. Wolf got up from the ground, but his body was bowed, and he didn't dare to straighten it. Dong Chao was completely dumbfounded. What the hell was going on? The reinforcements he called actually knelt down in front of him. Qin Haodong pointed to Dong Chao and asked, "Is he your relative?" Wolf nodded and said, "He's a distant cousin. We're not close. I really don't know how this bastard offended Dr. Qin." He couldn't wait to get rid of Dong Chao immediately. Otherwise, he would not be able to survive in the Jiangnan underworld if he really annoyed Brother Long. Qin Haodong said, "Forget it. It's not his fault that he didn't know. You ask him to come and talk to me now. Did you hear that? Dr. Qin asked you to come here. Get your ass over here." Wolf turned around and shouted at Dong Chao. He was indeed Dong Chao's distant relative. The Dong family had a great influence in Shanghai, but Dong Chao's family was just a branch of the Dong family, so Wolf was not afraid to offend him. Dong Chao stood there dumbfounded. He wanted to run away, but he didn't think it was possible. He wanted to come over, but he didn't dare to do so when he saw the fierce Dafei. Dafei waved his hand, and two of his men immediately came over. They grabbed Dong Chao by his collar and took him directly to Qin Haodong. Before he could say anything, Dafei kicked his knee and made him kneel on the ground. Qin Haodong looked at Dong Chao and said, "I already know how you cheated Wang Jiani. Now I'll show you the way. Sign the divorce agreement immediately and finish the formalities. Give her 1 million as compensation." "No, absolutely not. She's my legal wife. None of you can force me to divorce her." Dong Chao shouted immediately. "What the hell are you shouting for? Who are you talking to?" Dafei stepped forward and slapped Dong Chao's face hard. Dong Chao's cheeks were red and swollen, and his mouth was bleeding. Qin Haodong knew it would not be so easy. He turned around and put the little fellow in Wang Jiani's arms. "You take her home first. I'll go to you later." Wang Jiani nodded and said nothing. She took the little fellow directly to her home. Qin Haodong knew he had to use some means to make Dong Chao yield, but it was not suitable for the little fellow to see these things. So he asked Wang Jiani to take the little fellow away. He turned around and said to Dong Chao, "Divorce is a bright path. I think you should agree." "No, I don't agree." Dong Chao's cheeks were red and swollen, but he somehow got the courage to answer Qin Haodong directly. "It's fine if you don't agree. Then take the second way." Qin Haodong turned around and said to Dafei, "This scumbag has cheated and abducted many innocent women. Is there anyone among your men who is good at castration? Just cut him off so that he won't harm others in the future." "Yes, my men have all kinds of talents." Dafei shouted to a skinny man, "Little Five, come here." "Hello, Dr. Qin." The man called Little Five greeted him respectfully. He had been taught a lesson at the amusement park that day, so he was convinced by Qin Haodong. Dafei introduced, "Dr. Qin, Little Five's ancestors were all veterinarians. He's good at castrating pigs." Qin Haodong nodded and said, "Cut him off and send him to the palace to be a eunuch. What can you do for him?" Little Five patted his chest and said, "Don't worry, Dr. Qin. He's no different from an animal. It's only a matter of 2 or 3 minutes." After saying that, he took out a wallet from his back pocket. It was filled with all kinds of shiny knives, sending chills down people's spines. "Good." Qin Haodong nodded with satisfaction and said to Dafei, "It's not good to do this on the street. Find a car and let Little Five castrate this guy in it." Seeing the shiny knives in Little Five's hands, Dong Chao was so scared that he collapsed on the ground and could no longer be tough. Da Fei waved his hand, and 4 or 5 men immediately came over. They picked up Dong Chao and walked to an off-road vehicle nearby. Qin Haodong said to Little Five, "Clean your hands." "Don't worry, Dr. Qin. I'll definitely cut him clean. Nothing is left." Then Little Five followed Qin Haodong to the off-road vehicle with a strange excitement in his eyes. It seemed that he was very interested in this kind of thing. No wonder he was from a veterinarian family. "Dr. Qin, I agree. I agreed to divorce. Please spare me." As soon as Little Five jumped on the off-road vehicle, Dong Chao screamed like a pig being slaughtered. At this moment, he had no doubt that Qin Haodong would really send him to the palace to be a eunuch. Although he was reluctant to part with Wang Jiani, he could find another woman, but there was only one second master. If he really cut him off, he would never be able to find her again. Qin Haodong sneered and waved his hand to Da Fei. Da Fei immediately asked someone to bring Dong Chao over. At this moment Dong Chao was so scared that he couldn't walk at all. He was completely dragged here by 2 people. As soon as he approached, he emitted a pungent smell of urine. He was so scared that he wet his pants. "I'll find someone to make a divorce agreement now. Sign it right now." Qin Haodong stared at Dong Chao with sharp eyes and said, "I'm telling you, you only have one chance. If you dare to play tricks with me, you won't even have the chance to sign the agreement next time. Anyway, cutting you off is safer than that little notebook." Little Five said, "Dr. Qin, how about I just cut him off directly? It'll save you a lot of trouble." Dong Chao was so scared that he trembled all over and said quickly, "I'll sign it. I'll sign it right now." Qin Haodong said to Da Fei, "Find a lawyer and make a divorce agreement according to what I said. Ask him to transfer the money now. 1 million yuan, not a cent less." "Don't worry, Dr. Qin. It'll be done soon." Da Fei immediately contacted a lawyer and asked Dong Chao to transfer 1 million yuan to his account. Chapter 81. Dong Chao looked at the divorce agreement and then at Little Five, who looked eager. It seemed that Little Five wanted him to go back on his word. He had no choice but to pick up a pen, sign his name on the divorce agreement, and then put his fingerprint on it. Wang Jiani also signed her name and put her fingerprint on it. She held her chest and cried, "Bastard, I finally got rid of you." Dong Chao looked at Qin Haodong and said, "I've done what you said. Can you let me go now?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "When did I say that I would let you go? You set me up." Dong Chao roared angrily. At this time, several policemen came over and handcuffed him. Pinailan Wuxia said, "Dong Chao, you're suspected of gathering people to take drugs. Come with us." After the policemen came, Dong Chao became angry. He knew that he would not be cut off again. He shouted at Qin Haodong, "Toy boy, wait for me. I won't let you go." Qin Haodong smiled brightly and said, "Okay, I'll wait for you. Come out first." Pinailan Wuxia waved her hand and 2 policemen took Dong Chao to the police car and took him away. Shi pulled Qin Haodong aside and said, "You're such a playboy. Why do you always have a woman with you when you make trouble for me?" Qin Haodong thought for a while and it seemed to be true. He smiled awkwardly and said, "It's a coincidence. It's a pure coincidence. Besides, I'm not making trouble for you. I'm helping you. I guess you'll be promoted soon with me." Pinailan Wuxia snorted. In fact, Qin Haodong was right. She had solved many big cases recently and had been commended several times. She would be promoted soon. She asked again, "Do you have time tonight?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Why? Do you want to invite me to dinner?" "It's too early. You can do it after you get promoted. If you wish. It's my grandpa who wants to see you. If you have time tonight, go to my grandpa's place." "Oh, what's up?" "You'll know when you get there." Pinailan Wuxia also got in the car and left. "Thank you, Dr. Qin." Wang Jiani came to Qin Haodong and said gratefully, "It's okay. Buy your own house and live a good life." Qin Haodong asked Da Fei to transfer 1 million yuan to Wang Jiani, and then followed them to Long Haixing's home. When Qin Haodong arrived at Long Haixing's villa, he and his wife were already waiting at the door. They welcomed him warmly. After entering the room, the little fellow and Long Xiaobao played together. Long Haixing said, "Dr. Qin, thank you so much. My son is much better after the last treatment." Qin Haodong took a look at Long Xiaobao. Long Xiaobao had indeed recovered a lot compared to last time. There was a trace of color on his face, and short fluffy hair had grown on his head. After chatting for a while, he performed the second treatment on Long Xiaobao. After 20 minutes, he put away the silver needles and said, "Remember to take the medicine according to the prescription. You will be cured after one more treatment." Pi Chaoting said gratefully, "Dr. Qin, thank you so much. You are the great benefactor of our family." Long Haixing said, "Dr. Qin, your business is my business in the future. If you need anything, just tell me. I will do my best." Qin Haodong returned to Lin's villa with the little fellow. When he returned, Lin Momo also got off work. Mommy, I won the first place today." The little fellow rushed to Lin Momo as soon as she saw her. Really? You're great. Mommy will reward you." Lin Momo kissed the little fellow on both cheeks. It could be seen that she was in a very good mood today. The little fellow giggled and said, "Mommy, Papa just kissed you here. You ate Papa's saliva." Lin Momo blushed and looked shyly at Qin Haodong, who was laughing next to her. Mommy, put me down. I have to tell the good news to Mr. Crooked and Damao and Mao." The little fellow jumped out of Lin Momo's arms and ran into the room. Lin Momo said, "Thank you. I'm sorry. As a mother, I don't have time to take the little fellow to the competition." Qin Haodong said indifferently, "What's wrong with that? I'm Tang Tang's father. It's natural for me to take her to the competition." Lin Momo sighed and said, "You're so good to Tang Tang. Sometimes I wonder if Tang Tang's biological father would be as good to her as you are to her." Qin Haodong held Lin Momo in his arms and said, "Don't bother. I'm Tang Tang's biological father." You're not serious again." Qin Haodong's words were sincere, but in Lin Momo's eyes, it was a kind of confession. She gently punched him in the chest as she said that. Mommy, don't hit Papa." This time, the little fellow ran back with Damao and Mao. Lin Momo quickly pushed Qin Haodong away shyly. Qin Haodong took her hand and sat down on the sofa. He said, "You're in a good mood today. Your work must be going well." Well, it's very good." Speaking of work, Lin Momo's eyes were full of excitement. She said, "Today our raw gemstone exhibition was full, and the sales reached a new high. However, there was no one in the Fangs group." Originally, some people in the group were gossiping about the raw gemstone exhibition, but these days they have been suppressed, and no one dared to say anything. Qin Haodong knew that it was not easy for Lin Momo to be the president. As a woman in charge of such a large group, there must be people who were not convinced, and there would be people who had ulterior motives. If he hadn't set up the Fangs group this time, this raw gemstone exhibition would have definitely become a weapon for those people to attack Lin Momo. He said, "That's good. It's estimated that in a few days, the Fangs group should be closed." Speaking of this, Lin Momo's face changed a little. She said, "Although the situation is good now, we can't be too optimistic. I received a message today that a large number of raw gemstones have been shipped from Myanmar to the Fong family. They have arrived. If I'm right, the Fong family will not be willing to fail. They will definitely hold some commercial publicity and promotional activities tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow." Qin Haodong smiled indifferently. "It doesn't matter. If it doesn't work, I'll go to the Fong family again." Lin Momo had already vaguely known that Qin Haodong must have a special way to select raw gemstones. She nodded and said, "Let's see what happens first." After dinner, Qin Haodong left the Lin family and drove to the military sanatorium. When he arrived at the door, Nalin Wushuang was already waiting there. They went to Nalin Jie's residence together. After entering the room, they saw Nalin Jie sitting on an old-fashioned wooden armchair, and there was a middle-aged man opposite him. The middle-aged man was about 50 years old and had a good look. Although he spoke very respectfully to Nalin Jie, he still could not hide his superior aura. It seemed that he was also an official. Behind the middle-aged man stood a tall young woman. The woman was dressed in black from head to toe, and even her face was covered with a black veil. Only her two big eyes were exposed. Even though the cover was very tight, it was still difficult to hide the woman's excellent figure. The places that should be perky were perky, and the places that should be perky were perky. It was a classic representation of the S-shaped curve. When Qin Haodong saw this woman, he couldn't help frowning. Others might not be able to see anything, but he could clearly feel the strong yin qi on this woman. It was so condensed that it had even reached the level of ghost qi. Seeing Qin Haodong enter the door, Nailan Jia immediately stood up and said enthusiastically, "Little magic doctor, I'm sorry to trouble you again. You're welcome. Just tell me what you want." Qin Haodong was very respectful to Nailan Jia, who had made great contributions to the country and the people. Little divine doctor, this old man is looking for you to borrow your miraculous hands to treat an old subordinate of mine. Nailan Jia said and introduced the middle-aged man behind him to Qin Haodong. This is my guard Shi Kuai, now the head of the Public Security Department of Jiangnan Province. Qin Haodong secretly laughed. It was really fate that made fun of people. In the afternoon he just met the first man of the underworld of Jiangnan, and now he met the boss of the White World. Hello Dr. Qin. I've heard a lot about you. Shi Kuai immediately stood up. Although he was now in a high position, he did not dare to put on airs in front of Nailan Jia. He greeted Qin Haodong very politely. Qin Haodong responded politely. After everyone was seated, Nailan Jia said, "Little Shi, tell the little magic doctor about your disease." When I was in the army, I was injured in the waist, which led to the dislocation of the vertebrae of my spine. It was because of this that I transferred to the local area. At that time, I also read a lot of Chinese and Western medicine, but they all said that the dislocation of my lumbar vertebrae was very sensitive. If the bone was set, it would easily cause paralysis, so they suggested conservative treatment. At that time I was still young and I didn't take this injury seriously, so I got through it. Speaking of this, he sighed. But now I am old, and the waist injury is getting more and more serious. Recently the pain is so bad that it has affected my work. Just saw a doctor a few days ago, and the experts in the capital hospital suggested surgery. The risk of surgery is very high, and the possibility of paralysis of the lower limbs is more than 50. If there is no surgery, I can only retire early and recuperate at home. Have been busy all my life, and I can't accept to retire at the age of 50. The risk of surgery is great. If I really become paralyzed, I will drag down my children, which is not the result I want. Just when I couldn't choose, the old leader said that the little magic doctor's medical skills were superb, and he could definitely cure my waist injury. So I came to Jiangnan City from the provincial capital, in order to trouble the little magic doctor to treat me. Let me see. Qin Haodong asked Shi Kuai to stretch out his wrist and began to feel his pulse. After a while he had felt the injury clearly. Shi Kuai's waist injury was really very serious. The 6th and 7th vertebrae were dislocated because of the injury, and it had been delayed for a long time. Not only the tendons and muscles had been greatly deformed, but also the normal position of the spine had bone spurs. It was very difficult to restore it with ordinary medical skills. Little magic doctor, how is it? Can my injury be healed? Shi Kuai asked. No wonder he was so nervous. If Qin Haodong couldn't cure this disease, then he really had to choose to retire early. P.S. Qin Haodong gently said 2 words, which sounded like a fairyland in Shi Kuai's ears. Even the black-clothed woman behind him showed a trace of emotion in her eyes. If this was said by others, he might have doubts. But Qin Haodong had cured Nailan Jia, and also cured many special soldiers who retired because of injuries. This kind of superhuman medical skills was absolutely worthy of his trust. Little magic doctor, when is it convenient for you to treat me? Shi Kuai asked earnestly. Chapter 82. I can do it now. Then Qin Haodong asked Nailan Jia to find a hard wooden bed, and then let Shi Kuai climb on it. He took out the needle belt from his pocket and inserted 9 needles in Shi Kuai's back. Then he put his hands on both sides of the spine and gently massaged it. Through the pulse feeling just now, he had already known the injury of the spine, so the massage technique was extremely accurate. The dislocated spine slowly began to recover to the normal position under the right strength. In the process of recovery, the spine would inevitably be hindered by the deformed tendons and muscles, but these had been sorted out by him with greenwood genuine qi, and slowly returned to normal. As for the bone spurs that had grown out, they were quietly shattered into powder by his internal strength, and then dissolved by greenwood genuine qi. Shi Kuai lay on the bed and was surprised. The injured part usually hurt badly even if it was not touched, but now under Qin Haodong's massage, there was no pain at all. What he didn't know was that the 9 silver needles that Qin Haodong had just inserted had completely cut off the nerves of his injured part. Although there was no anesthetic, the effect was 10 times better than that. The whole treatment process took less than 5 minutes. Qin Haodong stood up and put away the 9 silver needles. Well, the spine has been completely restored. Now you can get up and move slowly. But be careful not to take heavy things and do strenuous activities within a week. Shi Kuai sat up from the bed, put on his shoes and slowly stood on the ground. He was surprised to find that the back of his waist did not hurt at all, and it was much easier than before, as if he had removed a 500-kilogram boulder. "Little magic doctor, thank you so much," he said and took out a bank card from his pocket. "Little magic doctor, there is 100,000 yuan in it. Please accept it." Qin Haodong took the bank card and put it in his pocket. He was a doctor, so he should pay for the treatment. Moreover, he was not very rich now. He said, "Grandpa Nalen, is there anything else? If not, I'll go back." "Little magic doctor, wait a minute." Before Nalen Jie spoke, Shi Kuai stopped Qin Haodong. "What's wrong? Is there anything wrong with you, Director Shi?" Qin Haodong asked in surprise. "Little miracle doctor, you've misunderstood. I'm feeling great now." Shi Kuai pulled the girl in black behind him and said, "Little magic doctor, this is my niece Hezian. She has a strange disease since she was a child. Please take a look at her." After that, he said to the girl in black, "Ziyan, there are no outsiders here. Let Dr. Qin have a look." Ziyan nodded and did not say anything. She began to take off her long dress, leaving only her underwear. As her skin was exposed, several people in the room revealed a look of surprise. Originally, the skin of a girl at this age should be as white as jade, but Ziyan's skin was as black as ink. That kind of color was even darker than black people, and it gave off a very eerie feeling. In the end, Ziyan took off the veil on her face. Everyone was surprised to find that other than the faint golden color between her eyebrows, the skin on her face was as black as ink, just like her body. At this moment there was a deathly stillness in her eyes. There was not the slightest bit of shyness, nor did she show the slightest bit of peculiarity towards everyone's astonished expressions. Nalen Jie asked in surprise, "What the hell is going on?" Shi Kuai sighed and said, "My niece is also a poor person. When she was a child, she was smart and lovely like other children. Unexpectedly, she suddenly got a strange disease when she was 10 years old. At first, there was only a small black spot on her chest. Everyone thought it was a mole and no one cared about it. Unexpectedly, as she grew older, the little black spot grew bigger and bigger, and finally gradually spread to her whole body. When she was 18 years old, except for her face, other parts of her body became the current color." Nalen Wushuang asked, "Didn't you go to the hospital for treatment?" "How could I not go to the hospital?" Shi Kuai said, "To tell you the truth, my brother-in-law's family is also a big family in the capital. They have very strong connections and financial resources. These years they have almost seen famous doctors all over the world, but there is no way to cure it. The conclusion given by the major hospitals is very consistent, saying that this is a congenital disease, not a disease. But with the passage of time, this disease has become more and more serious, has begun to spread to the face, and finally has become what it is now." Speaking of this, Shi Kuai looked sad, and sighed again and said, "This child is also poor. She was originally lively and cheerful, but now her character has changed greatly because of this strange disease. She stays in the room all day with a computer, and doesn't even go out. My sister felt that the child was really pitiful, so she asked her to come to me to relax. I just heard from the old leader that the little magic doctor's medical skills are excellent, so I brought her here, hoping that the little magic doctor can treat her." Qin Haodong understood that Shi Kuai was testing his medical skills while treating him. If he couldn't cure Shi Kuai's waist injury, Qi Weiner wouldn't ask him for treatment later. After all, this strange disease was 10 times more difficult to cure than his waist injury. "Little magic doctor, is there any hope for this disease?" Shi Kuai asked with a longing face. "Let me have a look first." Qin Haodong let Qi Weiner sit on the chair, and then began to feel her pulse. As soon as his fingers touched Chi Weiner's pulse, he felt an overwhelming cold air sweeping over. Fortunately, his heart was strong, and he forcibly suppressed the cold air back. But then Qin Haodong's expression changed greatly. Chi Weiner's pulse was very weak. If it wasn't for his strong spirit, he couldn't even feel it. She was like a dead person. Soon he took back his hand, and Shi Kuai asked nervously, "Little magic doctor, how is it?" Chi Weiner's dead eyes flashed with a touch of light, and she also turned to look at Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong frowned and said, "She is not sick." Well, Shi Kuai looked disappointed. Originally, after seeing Qin Haodong's magical medical skills, he thought that his niece finally had hope. He didn't expect that the final result was the same as other doctors, that there was no disease. Chi Weiner's expression didn't change at all, but the light in her eyes disappeared instantly. Unexpectedly, Qin Haodong continued to say, "She is not sick, but has been cast the art of raising ghosts." What, the art of raising ghosts? Not only Shi Kuai, but also Nailan Jie and Nailan Wushuang were shocked. Chi Weiner looked at Qin Haodong coldly again. In fact, not only these people were surprised, but even Qin Haodong himself was shocked when he got the result. The art of raising ghosts used to be a common method of the ghost sect in the cultivation world, but this method was too evil and harmful to the harmony of heaven. Later, the ghost sect was destroyed by other sects, and this method had disappeared even in the cultivation world. He didn't expect to see it on the earth. "Dr. Qin, what the hell is going on? Please make it clear." Shi Kuai asked eagerly. The art of raising ghosts is a kind of evil method in the Xianmen. First, the ghost fetus is cultivated by extremely evil means, and when the ghost fetus is mature, it will find a suitable mother body and implant it. The selection condition of the mother body is very strict. It must be a woman with an attribute, and she must be a virgin. It takes a total of 10 years for the ghost fetus to mature. When it matures, it will instantly devour all the consciousness of the mother body and become the ghost slave of the caster. Hearing this, Nailan Wushuang got goosebumps all over her body and asked, "What is the purpose of such an evil method?" Qin Haodong said, "Of course there are benefits. Once the ghost is successfully raised, the ghost slave is absolutely loyal to the master, and its strength is very strong. It can reach the level of human internal strength warriors. Moreover, the growth of the ghost slave is extremely fast, and it can reach the realm of supreme power within 3 years. Think about it, if a cultivator from an evil sect could control a few of these ghost slaves, how powerful would he be?" He said these with reference to the art of raising ghosts of the ghost sect in the cultivation world. In the cultivation world, once the ghost slave is formed, it can reach the level of Zhuji, and after 3 years it can form the ghost elixir. If it is cultivated by other evil methods, the time can be shortened. It takes at least decades or even hundreds of years for a normal human cultivator to form the gold elixir, but it becomes much easier with the ghost slave, so some people take the risk to cultivate the evil method. Nailan Jie couldn't help but gasp. The supreme power is absolutely the supreme existence of the warriors, and its identity is extremely respected. If people with such strength can be slaves, it is unimaginable. Shi Kuai asked with a frightened face, "Little magic doctor, do you mean that Xian has been planted a ghost fetus?" "It must be so." Qin Haodong said, "Think about it. Did she contact the weird evil cultivator 10 years ago?" Shi Kuai said, "10 years ago? It's too long, I have to think about it." "There's no need to think about it. 10 years ago on my birthday, an old Taoist once told my fortune. From then on there was a little black dot on my chest. That old Taoist should be the person who planted the ghost fetus in me." This was the first time that Chi Weiner spoke after entering the room. Although her voice was cold, it was very clear. She turned to look at Qin Haodong. "How long do I have?" "Only the last mud pill palace of your whole body has not been swallowed by the ghost fetus, which is the golden spot between your eyebrows. But if I'm not wrong, there should not be much time left, about 2 or 3 days. Chi Weiner said, "The day after tomorrow is my 20th birthday, it should be that day." Shi Kuai was shocked when he heard it. He quickly pulled Qin Haodong and said, "Little magic doctor, do you have any way? You must save her." Qin Haodong sighed. If he still had the cultivation of his previous life, he could easily kill this ghost fetus. But now his cultivation was too low, And he had not finished the Zhuji phase. It was really difficult to deal with this kind of ghost fetus. If he had to kill the ghost fetus in Qi Weiner, he had to use the talisman. He had to wait for a Dharma artifact, and this was not 100% guarantee. He said, I have a breakthrough in the way, but I can't guarantee a 100% cure, only 50% hope. Well, Shi Kuai hesitated. He was just Qi Weiner's uncle, not her parents. It was not good for him to make a decision on behalf of others when there was only half hope. No problem. I'm willing to accept Dr. Qin's treatment. Qi Weiner agreed. She said, but I have a condition. Qin Haodong looked at her and said, what is it? Tell me. Chapter 83. Qin Haodong smiled bitterly and said, I can promise, but I can only try my best. He was very clear that if the treatment failed and the ghost fetus could not be expelled from Qi Weiner's body, once it became a ghost slave, it could reach the cultivation of covert power. But he had not completed the Zhuji phase and was still in the 9th level of overt power. He was not sure that he could kill this master of covert power. I believe you, Qi Weiner said. Well, but there is no treatment now. You go back with me first, I have to do some preliminary preparations. The situation in front of him did not allow him to make a choice, so he had to make every possible effort. But if he wanted to expel the ghost fetus, he had to carve the talisman first. It's okay. I'll go with you, Qi Weiner said without hesitation. Seeing that she agreed, Shi Kuai naturally could not say anything more. Qin Haodong said goodbye to Nalin Jie and returned to his home with Qi Weiner. Qi Weiner had very few things with her. She had nothing except a laptop. Qin Haodong asked, do you particularly like using computers? Yes. Qi Weiner nodded and said, since I got this strange disease, I have been looked down upon by too many people at school. Later, I simply dropped out of school and did not go to school anymore. My family prepared a computer for me to study and entertain at home. One day, I accidentally came into contact with computer hacking technology. Maybe it's because I look dark. I am very talented in hacking technology. Speaking of this, she laughed at herself and continued, in real life, I can do nothing about my strange disease, but in the internet world, I am an omnipotent king. 3 years ago, I ranked first among the underground hackers. As long as I want, I can treat any website in the world as my own backyard at any time. When it came to the field she was good at, her originally dead eyes flashed with excitement. Qin Haodong was slightly surprised. He did not expect that the little girl who was trapped by the disease in front of him had such a superhuman achievement in the field of hacking. Then he had an idea. Daddy's security company could be said to be full of talents, but there was no good one in the field of computers. If he could recruit Qi Weiner to his security company, it would be absolutely suitable. But this was all in the future. The urgent thing was to cure her ghost fetus. It was midnight. Qin Haodong chose a guest room for Qi Weiner and went back to rest. After getting up the next day, Qin Haodong found that the golden light in Qi Weiner's mud pill palace had been swallowed a little more. It had changed from the size of a 1 yuan coin to the size of a dime coin. If he didn't get rid of the ghost fetus as soon as possible, it would only take him 1 or 2 days to completely demonize and become a ghost slave. He asked Lin Momo to send the little fellow to the kindergarten. As a healthcare doctor, he was absent from work again today. After breakfast, Qin Haodong left home. He wanted to buy some cinnabar and yellow paper to make talismans to suppress the ghost fetus. Very quickly, he bought all the materials needed to draw talismans in a sundry shop. However, when he looked at these items, he smiled bitterly in his heart. With his current cultivation, how many powerful talismans did he have? He couldn't even inscribe it. How could he rely on some ordinary talismans? He didn't have the confidence to subdue the ghost fetus in Qi Weiner's body. It would be great if he could have a few powerful magic tools. That way, his chances of success would be much higher. However, in today's society, it was really too difficult to buy magic tools. Where could one go to buy them? He walked along the road while thinking. Suddenly, he saw an antique street. Let's go inside and have a look. Maybe I'm lucky enough to find a suitable magic tool. Thinking of this, Qin Haodong walked into the antique street. As the saying goes, gold in troubled times. Antiques in prosperous times. Now Huaxia was peaceful and prosperous, and people were more and more interested in antiques. In addition, several treasure appraisal programs have been launched by TV stations recently, which further encouraged the popularity of the antique market. Although it was not a weekend today, the antique market was still crowded. Some people came here to look around and see if they could be lucky enough to find some leftover items. Some people brought the pots and jars left by their ancestors here to try their luck, dreaming of getting rich overnight. In fact, the chance of this kind of thing was not much higher than winning 5 million yuan. Qin Haodong could feel along the way that 99% of the antiques on the market were fake. Occasionally, one or two with some spiritual qi were expensive. It was impossible to find leftover objects. However, these were not what he cared about. What he wanted to find was a magic tool that could be used. However, it was obvious that this thing was more difficult to find than antiques. He had walked half of the street, but he still had no clue. He had seen some things like compasses, horsetail whisks, peachwood swords and so on, but they were modern handicrafts without any spiritual qi at all. As he was walking forward, suddenly a middle-aged man in his 40s came over and said, "Little brother, are you looking for something? Do you need my help?" Qin Haodong looked at the middle-aged man and waved his hand. No need. But the middle-aged man did not give up. He followed him and said, "Little brother, you may not know me. My name is Niur, and I am a famous appraiser on this antique street. I have been here for more than 10 years. I know exactly what treasures someone has. As long as you tell me what you want, I will take you there immediately, and I won't charge you a penny. What do you think? Appraiser." Qin Haodong looked at Niur and smiled. He thought that people who led donkeys nowadays were keeping up with the times. He even gave himself such a lofty name. After thinking about it, Niur must be very familiar with this antique street anyway. It was better to listen to his introduction than to wander around. Anyway, with the experience of Emperor Greenwood for more than 500 years, it was impossible for these people to cheat money. Niur had always led donkeys to cheat money for a living. It was his specialty to observe people's words and expressions. He immediately saw that Qin Haodong was tempted, so he hurriedly said, "Little brother, you have to believe in my eyes. As long as you follow me, you will not only not go the wrong way to buy treasures, but also won't buy fake goods." Qin Haodong said, "Well, since brother Niur is so enthusiastic, please help me." Niur said repeatedly, "No trouble, no trouble. I am the kindest person and love to help others. I have been in a bad situation recently. I want to buy some old things like peachwood swords to drive away evil spirits at home. Do you know any place that has them? Let's make it clear in advance that I don't want those things from the assembly line." After Qin Haodong said that, Niur immediately patted his chest and said, "Little brother, you have found the right person for this. I know a shop that has a good peachwood sword. I heard that it was used by Zhang Daoling, the founder of the Tianshi sect. The shop owner's family has been in trouble recently, and he is in urgent need of money. Otherwise, he would be reluctant to sell it." The peachwood sword used by Zhang Daoling? Of course, Qin Haodong didn't believe it, but he had no goal anyway, so it didn't matter if he followed him to have a look. After that, Niur led the way and took Qin Haodong to the antique street. Qin Haodong's spirit was so powerful that he immediately noticed that there were 2 or 3 people in the crowd following him. It seemed that these donkey guides were really professional and had a tacit understanding with each other. Soon, Niur took Qin Haodong into an antique shop called Jubiozai. The shop looked very big and there were all kinds of antiques in it. However, Qin Haodong glanced at them and found that they had no spiritual qi at all. All of them were fake. The shop owner was a fat man who weighed more than 200 kilograms. When he saw Qin Haodong, he immediately greeted him warmly. "Little brother, what do you need? There are many treasures in our shop. We have all kinds of good things. I have the rice bowl used by Emperor Qin, the teacup used by Li Shimin, and even the urinal used by Empress Dowager Cixi." Before Qin Haodong could speak, Niur said first, "Fatty Wang, put away your tricks. This is my friend. Don't play those tricks to fool laymen." "Oh, your friend. Why didn't you say so earlier? Then we are all family." Fatty Wang put on a very cooperative look and said, "Little brother, what do you want? Since you are Niur's friend, you are my friend too. I don't care about the price and I guarantee that you can buy the real thing. Niur said, little brother, you want to buy something to ward off evil spirits. Where is your peachwood sword used by Zhang Daoling? Show it to me quickly. Fatty Wang immediately put on a troubled expression. Nyoer, to be honest, a few days ago, my family was in urgent need of money, so I took out that sword to sell, but now that it's over I don't want to sell it anymore. Qin Haodong knew that he didn't need to speak at this time. He just needed to watch their performance quietly. Sure enough, Nier said indignantly, Fatty Wang, you have to pay attention to integrity in business. How can you go back on your words when you said you would sell it? Besides, little brother is here. You can show it to others. Maybe they won't like it at all. Well, you wait, I'll get it. Fatty Wang put on a painful look, turned into the inner room, and soon took out a long object wrapped in yellow cloth. He carefully put the thing in his hand on the counter, then opened the yellow cloth, revealing a bronze peachwood sword. This peachwood sword was about 2.5 feet long, with a dull color and simple patterns. It looked absolutely very old from the appearance. The handle of the wooden sword was engraved with the traditional characters of Taoist master. Qin Haodong took the peachwood sword in his hand and looked at it. He secretly admired that these people were really good at making old things. If it weren't for the fact that there was no spiritual qi on the peachwood sword, he would really suspect that it was an unearthed old thing. But now it was clear that this thing was a high-end fake. He instantly lost interest in playing with it and put the peachwood sword back on the counter. Niur said, little brother, what do you think? This peachwood sword is definitely a good thing used by Zhang Daoling. Its magic power is boundless. Everything will go well at home. I'm not interested. I'll look at it again. Qin Haodong knew a little about the rules of the antique circle. If he didn't like it, he could not buy it, but he couldn't say that it was a fake. Niur turned to Fatty Wang and said, give me a real price. If you can, I'll take it away. If not, you can take it home and keep it. Well, Fatty Wang said with a painful expression, to tell you the truth, this peachwood sword is something from the soil. I bought it from those people for 30,000 yuan. If you like it, you can take it away for 30,000 yuan without earning a penny. Little brother, what do you think? I can assure you that Fatty Wang's price is absolutely fair. Qin Haodong smiled and shook his head. He didn't want it for 30 yuan, let alone 30,000 yuan. Chapter 84. Well, it's fate that we meet. You can have a look if you want. Fatty Wang said and sent the peach sword to the old man in the tang suit. Good stuff, this is really good stuff. The old man picked up the peach sword with a surprised face. He looked like an old bachelor who had never seen a woman in his life and suddenly saw a naked beauty. Qin Haodong secretly praised him. It was true that there were masters in every field. This old man was definitely the best in the donkey leading industry. Why did he do this with such good acting skills? If he went to act, he would have taken the little golden man home. Of course, the old man didn't know that Qin Haodong had seen through his trick and continued his performance. Boss, this is a good thing for guarding the house from evil. I can see that it's an old thing. Tell me how much it is. I want it. Fatty Wang said with embarrassment, brother, you're late. This little brother has already taken a fancy to this sword. Hasn't he paid yet? It's not late if he hasn't paid yet. The old man said aggressively, tell me, how much does he pay? I'll add 1,000. Fatty Wang glanced at Qin Haodong and said, I'll bid 30,000 for this little brother. The old man said, such a good thing is only 30,000 yuan. It's not expensive at all. I'll pay 31,000. Niur was unhappy next to him. He stared at him and said, Fatty Wang, although you are a businessman, you can't be greedy for money. According to the rules, there should be a first come, first served rule. This little brother saw it first. You can't sell it to others. Well, Fatty Wang gritted his teeth and said to the old man, well, although you pay 1,000 yuan more, I still can't sell it to you. After all, it's the little brother who saw it first. Qin Haodong didn't speak all the time. He just looked at them with a smile. He was not in a hurry to leave now. He wanted to see how these people could act. Fatty Wang and others were obviously veterans in the industry. They had done this kind of thing many times. Although Qin Haodong didn't say anything, they didn't panic or discouraged at all. The old man continued, "Boss, you're wrong. The highest bidder gets it first. How about I give you another 1,032,000 yuan to sell it to me?" After their noise, more and more people came to the shop to watch. At this time, another old Taoist came in. The old Taoist was not young. His hair and beard were all white, but his face was very ruddy. He looked like a sage. When he saw the peach sword, his eyes suddenly lit up. He walked quickly to the counter and grabbed the peach sword. Fatty Wong immediately cried, "Old Taoist, old Taoist, old Taoist, old Taoist, old Taoist, old Taoist, I finally found it." However, the old Taoist did not care at all. He grabbed the peachwood sword with an excited expression and tears in his eyes. The ancestors of the Celestial Master sect have finally found it. "Old Taoist, this Taoist, old Taoist, you," he said. "Taoist, this is." The old Taoist priest put the peachwood sword back on the counter and said excitedly, "Boss, I'm the 87th generation successor of the Tianshi sect. This sword is the peachwood sword that ancestor Zhang Daoling used to subdue demons. Unfortunately, it was lost for many years. Now I finally found it. Tao, how much are you pay for this? I must buy it back to the Celestial Master sect for the disciples to admire." The old man immediately said discontentedly, "Old Taoist, everything is first come, first served. I came here first. You can't rob me." The old Taoist said solemnly, "But this is the treasure of our Taoist sect. I must buy it." Niur immediately cried, "Don't rob me. My little brother saw this peach sword first. You all stand back. No, I must buy this sword. I can pay more. This is the treasure of our Taoist sect. I must buy it back no matter how much it costs." Both the old man and the old Taoist showed an expression that they would not give up until they reached their goal. Finally, Fatty Wong said with a helpless expression, "Since everyone has seen this sword, it means that we are all predestined people. Well, you three bid to buy it. After all, I am also a businessman. Whoever pays the highest price will get the sword. But the little brother came here first. If I sell it to the little brother at the same price, do you have any objection?" "I have no objection. Anyway, I must buy this treasure today." The old man took the lead. "I have no objection either. If I don't bring this sword back to the Taoist sect, I will be sorry to the ancestors of the sect." The old Taoist also spoke righteously and passionately. Seeing that these people were so engrossed in the performance, Qin Haodong felt that if he didn't cooperate with them, he would be sorry for their enthusiasm, so he said, "Well, I have no objection." Fatty Wong's eyes flashed with complacency. He thought to himself, "Boy, you are pretending to be calm. Finally, you still fall into my trap." He said, "Now the base price is 30,000 yuan. Whoever pays the highest price will take it away." "I pay 32,000 yuan. The old man was the first to shout. "I pay 33,000 yuan. The old Taoist did not show weakness. 35,000 yuan. 38,000 yuan. The old Taoist and the old man shouted higher and higher prices, but Qin Haodong just watched quietly and did not participate in the bidding. The old Taoist and the old man were waiting for Qin Haodong to shout out the price, and then they would withdraw together. At that time, Qin Haodong would have to buy it. Unexpectedly, they acted so well, but the young man never bid, which made them unable to stop and could only keep raising the price. In the blink of an eye, the price had reached 50,000 yuan, but Qin Haodong still watched quietly and did not intend to participate in the bidding. This made Fatty Wong's eyes flashed a little anxiously, and he gave Niur next to him a look. Niur immediately understood and said to Qin Haodong, "Little brother, it's almost time. You didn't listen to me just now, or you would have bought it for 30,000 yuan. Now you can't miss the opportunity, or it will be too late to regret." "Well, if you don't listen to others, then I will bid once." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "I pay 100,000 yuan. As soon as he said that, all the people present were surprised, but Fatty Wong's face flashed with unconcealable joy. He didn't expect that he could kill a big fat sheep with a broken sword today. Some experienced guests had already seen that there was something fishy about it. They couldn't help shaking their heads secretly, thinking that the young man was so gullible that he lost 100,000 yuan in this way. Niur was also very happy and felt that the play should end now. He said, "I tell you too, if you know what's good for you, quit quickly. You can't compete with the little brother. It seemed that he was helping Qin Haodong to speak, but in fact it was a signal that their gang had made an appointment in advance. As long as Niur said so, the old man and the old Taoist should quit. At that time, Fatty Wong would sell the sword to Qin Haodong, even if he didn't want to buy it. Up to now, everything was perfect, but no one thought that the old man and the old Taoist seemed to be into the play and had no intention of quitting at all. The old man cried, "In your dreams. This kind of good treasure must be bought home as a family treasure. I pay 110,000 yuan. This is the treasure of our celestial master sect. It must not be bought by outsiders. I pay 120,000 yuan. While speaking, a crazy look flashed in the old Taoist's eyes. Fatty Wong was so angry that he gritted his teeth secretly. He thought to himself, these two idiots, what if the price is too high and the fat sheep is scared away? Fortunately, Qin Haodong didn't let him down for too long. He cried again, I pay 200,000 yuan. There was an uproar among the onlookers. Was this young man a fool? He didn't buy it when it was 30,000 yuan, but now he bid 200,000 yuan. Was this the legendary foolishness? Niur was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. He quickly winked at the old Taoist and the old man and asked them to stop. Fatty Wong cried eagerly, this little brother bids 200,000 yuan, then this sword. But before he finished speaking, the old Taoist shouted, I pay 300,000 yuan. This belongs to our celestial master sect. It must be taken back. After he shouted this, Fatty Wong and Niur immediately had an impulse to rush up and beat him to death. It was 200,000 yuan, but he still raised it to 300,000 yuan at once. Was he crazy? Qin Haodong smiled and said, since you are so sincere, I will quit. The thing is yours. After he finished speaking, the bodies of the old Taoist and the old man shook slightly and they woke up from the mind manipulating. Qin Haodong did not erase their memories, so the two of them remembered what had just happened clearly. Fatty Wong didn't know this. He was so angry that he was trembling. The two idiots had directly ruined such a good business. Now not only the money was gone, but the problem was how to continue the show. The fat sheep had officially announced that it would not buy it. The peach sword was going to be sold to the old Taoist, but how could he have so much money? But if they didn't pay, their show would be exposed, and the whole antique industry would know that they were leading a donkey to cheat people. Qin Haodong smiled at the old man and said, Sir, do you still want it? If you want it, hurry to increase the price. It's a pity to lose such a good treasure. The old man quickly shook his head like a rattled drum. No, I don't want it. It was a joke. The price had reached 300,000 yuan. How could he dare to continue to bid? The old Taoist was completely dumbfounded. He just had an impulse to think that he was the successor of the Taoist sect. He must buy the sword back, so he kept increasing the price. Now that the impulse had passed, where could he get 300,000 yuan? Qin Haodong said to him with a smile, Taoist, this is the treasure of your Taoist sect. Hurry up to pay and take it back. The old Taoist suddenly couldn't speak. He didn't even have 300 yuan in his pocket, let alone 300,000 yuan. Qin Haodong's face darkened. Taoist, are you teasing us because you have no money? Some busybodies in the crowd also shouted, pay quickly. The old Taoist said with embarrassment, well, I'm sorry, I came out in a hurry and forgot to bring money. I'll buy it tomorrow. After that, he turned his head and was about to walk out of the store, but was pulled back by Qin Haodong, and then slapped in the face. Stinky old Taoist, you ruined the boss's business. I must teach you a lesson today. After that, he slapped the old Taoist's face. After a few slaps, even his beard and eyebrows were all knocked off. Everyone saw clearly that the old Taoist was fake. It seemed that he was about 30 years old. Fatty Wong, Niur and others were stunned. They never dreamed of such a scene. Seeing their companions being beaten, they didn't know whether to help or not. In such a short time, Qin Haodong had slapped the fake old Taoist more than a dozen times. It was very refreshing. He stood up, turned to Fatty Wong and said, Boss, this guy pretended to be an old Taoist and disturbed your business. Do you want to beat him? That's the end of today's update. Here are the comments on the shelf. Daddy Doctor has written nearly 300,000 yuan. From the beginning of the next chapter, it will be on the shelf. Here, I solemnly thank you for your support for a long time. Black Bear is an honest person. Before the book is published, he would like to say 3 words to his readers. First sentence. In the age of online literature, readers are the creators of good works. Without the support of readers, a full-time writer like Black Bear would not be able to keep himself fed, nor would he have the motivation to improve the quality of his work. Second sentence. Black Bear has to sit in front of the computer for more than 10 hours every day from morning to night. He also has to overcome dizziness, dry eyes, and cervical spondylosis. It's really not easy, but it only costs a few cents to subscribe. Here, with tears in my eyes, I implore my readers to support the original book. Your subscription is the biggest support for Black Bear. At the same time, I would like to clarify that the original version of this book is on the internet. Only subscriptions from Zongheng are supporting Black Bear. Subscriptions from other websites are invalid. At the same time, I can't see the comments. Third sentence. In order to repay everyone's support for Black Bear, from today on, there will be 3 chapters every day. Unless there are special circumstances, there will be no less than 10,000 words. The next chapter will be a VIP chapter. Everyone, prepare your subscriptions and monthly tickets. Black Bear is looking at you pitifully. Love your super refreshing Black Bear. Chapter 85. Fatty Wong couldn't beat his own people. He said embarrassedly, forget it. Peace makes money. Peace makes money. Feels really good. It's a pity not to beat him. Qin Haodong grabbed the collar of the fake old Taoist and shouted to the onlookers, is there anyone who is in a bad mood? You can come here to vent your anger. It's a free vent. Damn liar, beat him to death. 4 or 5 young people immediately rushed up from the crowd and punched and kicked the fake old Taoist. The fake old Taoist couldn't stand it anymore. He hurriedly asked Fatty Wong and Niuer for help. Second brother, brother-in-law, help me. I'm going to be beaten to death. Fatty Wong and Niuer were shocked. They didn't expect that the fake old Taoist would find them so easily. They hurriedly cried, don't talk nonsense. We don't know you. Bastard, you don't even help me. The fake old Taoist was beaten to crawl on the ground. He turned his head and shouted to the old man next to him, Dad, they don't care about me. You have to care about me. If you beat me to death, you will have no descendants. At this time, people finally figured out that these 4 people were all in a group and set up a trap here to cheat people. Beat him, these damn liars. Beat them to death. Liars will die a horrible death. There was a rule in the antique circle, that is, you can't return a fake one. If you buy a fake one, you can only blame yourself. Everyone knew this. But it was their own business to make a mistake. If they set up a trap to cheat people of money, they would be hated. Therefore, Fatty Wong and others immediately aroused public anger when they set up a trap. Among the onlookers, some had suffered losses from liars and really hated liars. Some were just joking and taking advantage of them. Whatever the reason, it didn't prevent them from rushing to Fatty Wong and Niuer, punching and kicking them. They were very happy. Qin Haodong took a look at the chaotic scene with a smile. It was ridiculous that these people wanted to set up a trap to cheat him. They were asking for trouble. In the chaos, he left Fatty Wong's shop and continued to walk along the antique street. He left, but the people here did not stop. In a flash, Niuer and others were beaten black and blue. Fortunately, the security guards of the antique street came in time and persuaded these people to leave. Otherwise, Fatty Wong's antique shop would be smashed. After these people left, Fatty Wong hurriedly closed the door of the shop. Only then did he feel relieved. He turned around and said angrily to the old man and the fake old Taoist, Did you King get kicked in the head by a donkey? You are the ones leading the donkey, how did you become a donkey? Niuer with a pair of panda eyes, also shouted angrily, That's right. When that fat sheep bid 100,000, you should have withdrawn, and we would have succeeded. Who knew that you 2 idiots would still raise the price? The fake old Taoist priest said with a bitter face, I don't know what happened either. I might have had a cramp in my head at that time. I just felt that this peachwood sword was the most precious treasure of the Tianshi sect and I had to buy it. The old man also said, I was the same at the time. I thought it was a big treasure, and I had to buy it no matter how much it cost. Maybe we've cheated too many people, and we've been too engrossed in our acting. Engrossed my ass. Damn it, you and your father are both stupid. You didn't earn the money in your hands, and I was beaten like a grandson because of you. The more Fatty Wong said, the angrier he became. He raised his foot and kicked the fake old Taoist priest and the old man, who had just got up, to the ground again. Nior pulled the angry Fatty Wong and advised, "Forget it, we have been cooperating for so many years, and we are all relatives. Let's forget it." "No, I can't swallow it. I must find a way to teach that little white face a lesson." Fatty Wong gasped and said. The old man got up from the ground again and said, "Yes, we have worked for so many years, and we have never suffered such a big loss. Today we must make that guy pay some blood." The fake old Taoist priest said to Nior's second brother, "You have the most ideas. Think of a way to deal with that guy." Nior blinked his small eyes and said, "It's easy to deal with this guy. Since he doesn't fall into our trap, let's blackmail him." Fatty Wong had calmed down at this time. He thought for a moment and said, "Blackmail is a good way, but we can't show up now. Call Lao San. There are not many people on this street who know him. It's best to let him do it." His idea was approved by everyone. Nior made a phone call, and soon a man in his 30s with a flat top came to the shop. He was Lao San, who had just been mentioned by Fatty Wong, and was also a member of their fraud gang. Fatty Wong briefly told Lao San what happened today, and then said, "You go and teach that guy a lesson. Be sure to make him pay some blood, or we can't swallow it." "Don't worry, big brother. I'm the best at blackmail." Lao San picked up a porcelain vase next to him and turned to leave. Nior grabbed him and said, "San, that guy is very clever. The vase is too big a target. It may not be easy to get it. You can change something else." Lao San asked second brother, "What do you think is appropriate?" Nior said to Fatty Wong, "You find a smaller one for San, one that looks high grade but is actually worthless." Fatty Wong thought for a moment and said, "Yes, the broken mirror you collected last time has been there for half a year and no one wants it. Let's take it." After saying that, he took out an ancient mirror from under the counter. The mirror was about the size of a palm, and there was a handle about 10 centimeters long at the back. It looked very old and bronze-colored, but the material did not seem to be copper. Nior said, "Fatty, why did you give up this mirror? It may be a good thing." "Bullshit. You bought it for 50 yuan and I spent 100 yuan for half a year to sell it. How can it be a good thing?" Fatty Wong was obviously very resentful of this mirror. The old man said, "Lao you've seen it this time. We've asked many experts to see it, but they can't see what it is. It's perfect to blackmail someone." "That's right. I'm upset when I look at it," Fatty Wong said as he put the mirror on the ground and kicked it. A large piece of the mirror immediately deflated with a poochie sound. He picked it up again and gave it to Lao San. "Take it. Use this thing and go. We must make sure that the kid is ruthlessly killed. Don't worry, big brother. I'll make that guy pay a lot." Lao San said as he put the mirror in his arms and turned to leave the antique shop. Qin Haodong still walked along the antique street and looked at several shops in a row, but he did not find a decent magic weapon. At this time, two men came to him. The one in front was about 50 years old. He obviously hadn't shaved for several days. He looked very old and sad. Behind him was a strong young man in his 20s, holding an incense burner about 20 centimeters in diameter in his arms. They came to the antique shop in front of Qin Haodong. After entering the door, the middle-aged man asked, "Boss, do you accept the incense burner?" "Of course." The owner of the shop was a thin old man in his 60s with a goatee. His small eyes were not big, but they were flickering. "How much is it?" the middle-aged man asked. The old man smiled and said, "Big brother, you're a layman. This is an antique shop, not cabbages. How much you pay depends on your things. If they are really good things, I can pay you millions. If they are junk, I don't want them." The middle-aged man turned to the young man and said, "Son, let the boss see our incense burner." The young man agreed and sent the incense burner in his arms to the boss. It was an iron three-legged incense burner with a diameter of about 20 centimeters. The surface of the incense burner was not special. The craftsmanship was rough. It seemed that it had been buried underground for a long time. It was not very clean. There was some fresh soil on it. It was not only lusterless but also rusty. It looked very bad. The boss walked around the incense burner and kept shaking his head. It's not an antique at all. It's not valuable at all. At most it can be sold for a few kilograms of pig iron. Qin Haodong's eyes lit up when he saw it. The incense burner did not look good, but the spiritual qi coming out of it was rich. It was definitely a good thing. The middle-aged man cried unwillingly. How is it possible? This is a good thing left by my grandfather. I heard that my great-grandfather hid it underground to avoid the Japanese. Before my grandfather died, he repeatedly told me that this incense burner should be passed down as a family heirloom. If it weren't for the child's mother being ill and hospitalized, I wouldn't have dug it up and sold it. The shopkeeper burst into laughter. When he was done laughing, he said, "Are you here to tell me a story? Not to mention that it was left by your grandfather. Even if it was left by your ancestors, it's just something made of iron and copper. How much can it be worth?" The young man asked, "Boss, how much do you think you can pay? My mother is really in the hospital, and she needs money urgently." The boss stretched out a finger and said, 100 yuan. I don't want more. What? 100 yuan? This is our family heirloom. I won't sell it for less than 100,000 yuan. The middle-aged man immediately widened his eyes and looked quite unwilling. However, after he finished speaking, even the onlookers laughed. 200 or 300 yuan was already a sky-high price for such an iron incense burner. Who would pay 100,000 yuan for such a thing? The shop owner also laughed sinisterly. After laughing, he said, "I don't care if someone in your family is dead or sick. This thing is worthless. I'm already being very kind by giving you 100 yuan. If you want to sell it, you can stay. If not, you can move out." A flash of despair flashed across the middle-aged man's face. He cried with excitement, "No, I must sell it for 100,000 yuan, or it won't be enough to treat my child's mother." "You're really out of your mind," the boss said with a sarcastic face. "Even if your whole family dies, this thing will never be sold for 100,000 yuan. If anyone wants to pay for it, I'll call him father." After he said this, someone in the crowd was unhappy. If the boss doesn't want to buy it, just say it. He is also in urgent need of money for treatment. Why are you so mean? That's right. Why don't you have any sympathy at all? In the face of so many accusations, the boss did not feel guilty at all. On the contrary, he looked angry. His beard twitched and he said, "I'm a businessman, not a philanthropist. If you are kind, you can buy it. I mean what I say. As long as someone pays 100,000 yuan for this rotten thing, I'll immediately call him father." In his opinion, this iron incense burner was not even an antique. It could only be sold as scrap iron. Even a fool would not pay 100,000 yuan for such a thing. Chapter 86. The onlookers only condemned the shop owner out of sympathy for the father and son. No one thought that someone would really pay 100,000 yuan to buy the iron censer. They looked at the source of the voice and saw a young man in his 20s striding to the middle-aged father and son. "Young man, do you really want to buy it? Are you kidding me?" the middle-aged man asked incredulously. The shop owner was stunned at first, and then he said sarcastically, "You're really stupid. Of course he's kidding. No one will pay 100,000 yuan to buy your thing." Qin Haodong didn't bother to pay attention to this guy who had been swallowed by money. He said directly to the middle-aged man, "Of course it's true, but I don't have cash. Give me an account number and I'll transfer the money now." Everyone's eyes widened. They didn't expect this young man to be serious. After the father and son were stunned for a moment, the son, who was holding the incense burner, immediately took out a bank card from his pocket. "Little brother, this is my card. As long as you transfer 100,000 yuan to me, this incense burner is yours." Qin Haodong didn't hesitate at all. He took the bank card and directly made a call to transfer 100,000 yuan from Shikuahai. After hesitating for a moment, he transferred the remaining 80,000 yuan to the other party's account. Judging from the rich spiritual qi, this censer was definitely a treasure. Even if he paid 180,000 yuan, it was still a great deal. After the transfer, The young man's cell phone rang twice, indicating that the money had been transferred. The young man checked his cell phone and was shocked. He quickly said to Qin Haodong, "Young man, you transferred it to the wrong person. We only need 100,000 yuan. You transferred 180,000 yuan. Qin Haodong said, "Yes, it's worth 180,000 yuan. That's all I have, or I'll give you more." "No, we only need 100,000 yuan. The middle-aged man turned to his son and said, "Hurry up and transfer the extra money back to him." Qin Haodong quickly stopped him and said, "No, the extra money can be used to buy some tonics for the patient." Well, seeing that Qin Haodong was serious, the father and son were moved to tears. "Young man, you're really a good man. Thank you so much." Qin Haodong said, "You're welcome. I bought your things with money. We don't owe each other anything. My phone number is on the transfer just now. If you have any difficulties in the future, you can come to me again." Although he said so, the father and son still bowed deeply to Qin Haodong, then left the incense burner and left. The shop owner looked at them and sneered. "Keep pretending. I've been in the antique business for 40 to 50 years. How dare you put on a show here? You've come to the wrong place." Qin Haodong didn't say anything. He really didn't want to deal with this kind of person. He had spent all the money in his pocket and wanted to leave with the censor. He didn't care, but it didn't mean that others didn't care about what had just happened. Someone in the crowd immediately shouted, "Old man, didn't you just say that as long as someone bought this censer for 100,000 yuan, you would call him father? Now this young man has spent 180,000, hurry up and shout." Many people were dissatisfied with the rich and heartless boss of the shop, so they all chimed in. "Come on, call me father." The shop owner stared at them and said, "What are you shouting for? Don't you see that the three of them are a group? They are acting to fool us. I don't think he transferred a penny to buy the censer for 100,000 yuan." Qin Haodong had just met a group of donkey guides, and in the blink of an eye, he was called a liar by others, which made him very unhappy. He glanced at the shop owner and said, "This is a big treasure. It's a big bargain for me to spend 180,000 yuan. You can't see that you are blind." The shop owner burst into laughter and tears were about to come out. "I, Zhang Wangkue, come from an antique family. I followed my grandfather to play antiques when I was 8 years old. I entered the antique business at the age of 20 and opened my own antique shop at the age of 30. I haven't met anything that can make me look down on it all these years. This is obviously a piece of iron and copper. How dare you say it is a treasure? Little guy, you are too young to play with me." Qin Haodong really didn't want to argue with him. He said, "Forget it. It's your business if you are blind. Anyway, I don't want a son like you." After that, he picked up the censer and was about to leave. Zhang Wangkue was unhappy and said with a cold face, "Wait a minute. What else?" Qin Haodong looked at him and said, "Obviously the three of you are a group. You came to my shop to play a two-man show." Zhang Wangkue said, "Well, in order to let everyone see clearly, do you dare to make a bet with me?" Qin Haodong immediately became interested when he heard the bet. No one could win a bet with him, the Emperor Green would. "Tell me, how do you want to bet? Didn't you say that I was wrong? As long as you can prove that this censer is valuable, I lose. Not only will I fulfill my promise just now and call you father in public, but I will also let you choose any treasure in my shop. On the contrary, if you lose, you will pay me 10,000 yuan for mental damage." This old man was rich and heartless, and now he was aggressive, which aroused Qin Haodong's disgust. He said, "We can bet, but you have no credibility at all. We must find a notary." "Little brother, let me be the notary." As soon as he finished speaking, two middle-aged men squeezed in from outside the crowd. Qin Haodong knew the one walking in front was Qian Duoduo, whom he had just met a few days ago. "Brother Qin, I didn't expect to see you again so soon." Qian Duoduo said and introduced the middle-aged man behind him to Qin Haodong. "This is the director of the Jiangnan Antique Appraisal Center, Mr. Guofeng, an antique appraisal expert." Then he turned to Guofeng and said, "This is the strange man I told you about, Qin Haodong, who I met a few days ago." Qin Haodong was not familiar with Guofeng, but many people in the crowd had already recognized him. I didn't expect Mr. Gua to come. Mr. Gua is an expert in antique appraisal. Of course, Mr. Gua is the first in our Jiangnan antique appraisal circle. He often appears on TV. It could be seen that everyone recognized Guofeng very much. Zhang Wankue had been in the antique industry for many years. He was also very clear about Guofeng's status in the antique industry. He was a leading figure. He came over with a charming smile and said to Guofeng enthusiastically, "Director Gua, why are you here?" Guofeng nodded to him and said, "I was just walking with my friends, and I happened to see you and this little brother making a bet. I'll be the notary for you. What do you think?" "Of course, Director Gua can be the notary," Zhang Wankue said with a flattering face. Guofeng was highly respected in the antique industry. He could make his antique shop close with one word and no one would do business with him anymore, so he couldn't afford to offend him. Qin Haodong nodded and said, "I have no problem with that." Guofeng said, "Since both of you agree, then the bet is officially established. Brother Qin, now you show us how to prove that this incense burner is a treasure." He was an expert in the antique industry. Although he had only looked at it briefly, he had already seen most of the incense burner. His conclusion was the same as Zhang Wankue's. This was just an ordinary incense burner covered with iron and copper, not even an antique. Qin Haodong smiled and said to Zhang Wankue, "Do you have an iron hammer in your shop?" "Yes." Although he didn't know what Qin Haodong wanted a hammer for, Zhang Wankue still went back to the shop and took an iron hammer. Qian Duo asked Brother Qin, "What are you going to do?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Try my luck. Maybe there is a treasure in this incense burner." Will this work?" Qian Duo said in surprise. He had just checked it carefully. It was indeed an ordinary iron incense burner. There was nothing special about it. "Just try it. I'll admit defeat." Qin Haodong said it casually, but in fact, he was very sure. He took the iron hammer and began to hit the iron incense burner with his strong perception. His knocking didn't seem to be heavy, but in fact each knock carried internal strength. As he hit the iron incense burner, it cracked inch by inch. The onlookers were all stunned. Was this young man crazy? He had just spent 180,000 yuan on it, and now it was smashed into pieces. Was he really going to sell it as scrap iron? Zhang Wankue sneered and said, "I've lived for 60 years, but I've never seen such a way to find treasures. It's really an eye-opener for me." Qin Haodong ignored his sarcasm. The iron hammer in his hand was getting faster and faster. After hitting the whole body of the incense burner, he threw the hammer on the ground and raised his hand to pat the side wall of the incense burner gently. With a clatter, the broken iron pieces fell to the ground. But what was surprising was that after the iron pieces fell, a milky white thing was revealed. It was still in the shape of an incense burner. "Paraffin! This is paraffin!" Many people around who knew what it was exclaimed. Guofeng's face changed and he blurted out, "It's probably an incense burner in it. It's the ancient way of hiding treasures. Brother Qin, you may have really picked up a treasure." Hearing Director Guo's words, the others immediately became restless. "This young man is really lucky. It seems that he has really found a treasure. Young man, you have good eyesight. I didn't see that there was something inside this iron incense burner. It's over. This old guy Zhang Wankue is going to be embarrassed. Let's see how he calls his father." Zhang Wankue's face changed greatly, but it was too late to regret now. He could only continue to watch and pray in his heart that there was nothing in the paraffin, but it was obviously very unrealistic. After breaking the iron sheet, Qin Haodong reached out again and kept patting the outer wall of the paraffin, separating the paraffin from the thing wrapped inside with his internal force. He only knew that the spiritual qi of the thing in his hand was getting stronger, but he was not sure what it was. But according to the shape, it was probably another incense burner. The people around also looked at Qin Haodong nervously, and they were very eager to see what kind of treasure was in the paraffin. Soon Qin Haodong finished patting the paraffin. He shook it skillfully with his hand, and the paraffin wrapped outside was broken. A copper incense burner with a simple and elegant appearance, yellow and red, and warm paste appeared in front of everyone. The outside of the incense burner was cast with a very delicate pattern, and there was no trace of rust all over it, exuding an attractive luster. Seeing such an incense burner, everyone was fascinated. Guofeng seemed to have lost his soul. He reached out and gently stroked the outer wall of the incense burner, murmuring, "Schwanda burner. It's really Schwanda burner." What? Schwanda burner? It turns out to be the legendary Schwanda burner. My God, this young man really picked up a treasure. Are you serious? How much can it be sold for if it's Schwanda burner? I really regret that I didn't buy it just now. It's a priceless treasure. Chapter 87. Among all the people present, Qin Haodong was the calmest one. He looked at Zhang Wankue and saw the old man's mouth was half open, and his eyes were blank like a fool. After a long time, Zhang Wankue came to himself and raised his hand to slap himself twice. He had been in the antique circle for most of his life, so how could he not know the value of Schwanda censer? It was a good thing that he couldn't see even if he wanted to. But today he had offered it to him with both hands, and the price was only 100,000 yuan. He didn't even think about it. At this moment he really wanted to die. Looking at the shining Schwanda censer, he really wanted to grab it and hold it in his arms and make it his own. Looking at the people around him who had lost their manners, Qin Haodong came to Qian Duoduo and asked in a low voice with a little embarrassment, "Brother, what is Schwanda censer?" He did have more than 500 years of experience and had seen all kinds of treasures, but they were all from the cultivation circle. He didn't know much about the cultural inheritance on the earth, let alone what Schwanda censer was. "Let me tell you." Guofeng heard Qin Haodong's question, stood up and said, "When Schwanda Emperor of the Ming Dynasty wanted to make censer, he asked the royal craftsman to design and supervise a batch of censer according to the famous porcelain styles of Chai kiln, Ru kiln, Guan kiln, Gu kiln, Jun kiln, and Ding kiln in the imperial palace, and historical books such as archaeological map. To ensure the quality of the censer, the craftsman selected dozens of precious metals, such as gold and silver, and carefully cast it with red copper for more than 10 times. The finished bronze censer was crystal clear and warm, and it was a treasure among handicrafts. So in a long period of history, Schwanda censer became the general name of bronze censer. However, Schwanda censer only cast 3,000 censer in 3 years, and no more were produced. They were hidden deep in the Forbidden Palace, and ordinary people only knew their names, but never saw them. Now, after hundreds of years of ups and downs, the real bronze censer cast in the 3rd year of Schwanda censer is extremely rare. Speaking of this, he was quite emotional. "I have seen countless antiques in my life, but I have never seen the real Schwanda censer. Today, I have the honor to see it, and I have no regrets in my life." Director Gua. How much is Schwanda censer worth? Someone asked his own question, which was also what Qin Haodong wanted to know. Guofeng said the Schwanda censer is a priceless treasure, and the price is just a reference value. Last year, at an auction in Hong Kong, a Schwanda burner was sold for 25 million. Heavens, 25 million is enough for an ordinary person to live for several lifetimes. Exchanging 180,000 for 25 million, this young man's luck is really good. I burn incense and pray to Buddha at home every day. Why don't I have such good luck? Everyone was talking about it. At this time, another person asked Director Gua, "Do you think this incense burner could be a fake?" "That's possible." As soon as Guofeng finished his words, everyone's expression changed, but he continued, "In order to make huge profits, from the Ming Dynasty Schwanda era to the Republic of China, antique dealers have been imitating Schwanda furnaces. Even after the production of Schwanda censers stopped, some officials who were in charge of casting bronze censers called the original craftsmen to imitate Schwanda censers according to the drawings and processes of Schwanda censers. These carefully cast imitations can be compared with the real ones, and even experts can't distinguish them. So far, there are many Schwanda censers in the collections of major museums in China, but none of them can be recognized as the real one by many experts. How to identify the real and fake Schwanda censers has become one of the unsolved cases in the domestic archaeology circle. Another person asked Director Gua, "Is this one real or fake?" Guofeng looked at the censer and said, "In my opinion, it should be the real one. And it doesn't matter whether it's real or fake. Such an exquisite thing, even if it's not made in the 3rd year of Schwanda era, It must be an imitation made by those casting officials in the Ming dynasty. It's so perfect. He turned to Qin Haodong and said, Brother Qin, I like this censer very much. If you are willing to sell it, I can offer you 30 million. Then he looked at Qin Haodong nervously. Although the price of 30 million was not low, if Qin Haodong was also an antique lover, he would definitely not sell it. The price of this thing would rise a lot in a few years. 30 million. My God, it's 5 million more than the one in the Hong Kong auction. I'm so jealous. Later I'll find some iron censers and smash them to see if there's a Xuanda censer hidden in them. Okay, it's useless for me to keep it. If Director Guo likes it, you can take it. Although the Xuanda censer was expensive, Qin Haodong had seen many rare treasures in the cultivation world. A censer without any function could not arouse his interest. It was better to sell it for some money. Brother Qin, thank you so much. Brother, give me your account number. I'll pay for it now. Guofeng was overjoyed, as if he had found a treasure. As if he was afraid that Qin Haodong would regret, he picked up his phone and transferred the money. Seeing that Qin Haodong had earned 30 million in such a short time, Zhang Wangkui's face looked worse than if his father had died. It was 30 million. He had never earned so much money in his life. It was sent to him, but he gave it to someone else. Seeing that the Xuanda censer had been taken, someone in the crowd shouted, Mr. Zhang, the little brother has found the treasure. Is it time for you to fulfill your promise? You won't go back on your words, will you? Dad, you're my real dad. Zhang Wangkui seemed to have changed instantly. He rushed to Qin Haodong with a flattering face and said, Dad, how did you know there was treasure in the iron censer? Can you teach me? As long as you can teach me, I'll call you Dad every day and take care of you when you're old and dead. Qin Haodong was speechless. This old guy changed too fast. Take care of me when I'm old and dead? How many years can you live? Are you cursing me to die early? But thinking about it, it was normal. For a black-hearted businessman like him who only had money in his eyes, as long as there was profit, they would be used to calling him grandpa or ancestor, let alone father. They would not hesitate at all. For this kind of person, Qin Haodong really didn't care. He said, Mr. Zhang, you just said that as long as I win this bet, I can take anything in the store, right? Yes, I keep my word. You can take anything you want. Zhang Wangkui said with a smile. There was a reason why he was so forthright. First, the notary of the bet was Guofeng, the director of the Cultural Relics Appraisal Center. He couldn't afford to offend him. Second, he didn't have anything valuable in the store. The few good things he had were hidden very well, so he was not afraid of being found. Qin Haodong didn't pay attention to Zhang Wangkui anymore. He stepped into the antique store and looked around. He found that all the things in the store were fake. There was nothing valuable at all. With his powerful perception, he found that there was a faint spiritual qi behind the wall. But it was also very weak. He guessed that it was an antique with some years. But it was not enough to attract his attention. What should I take? Qin Haodong turned around and suddenly found that there was spiritual qi overflowing in a corner of the wall. The concentration of the spiritual qi was not lower than that of the Xuanda censer. He strode over and found a wooden box in the corner. It was filled with broken bottles and jars, some of which were already broken and incomplete. He looked down along the source of the spiritual qi and found a small iron piece the size of an egg at the bottom of the box. The spiritual qi was emitted from this thing. Good stuff. Qin Haodong held the small iron piece in his hand and was overjoyed. He was 10 times happier than when he got the Xuanda censer. Others might not know what it was, but he recognized it at a glance. It was a magic instrument for protection. A magic instrument for protection was equal to an extra life, which couldn't be bought with money. He sensed it with his primordial spirit. The level of this magic instrument was not bad. It was enough to resist 3 attacks from a cultivator in the gold core realm. It was absolutely a good treasure for him to save his life. It seemed that he came to the antique street today. First, he sold a Xuanda censer worth 30 million yuan. Now he found a good treasure for protection. The only regret was that he didn't find a suitable magic instrument. Zhang Wangkui had been following Qin Haodong. Seeing Qin Haodong find a black iron piece from the box he threw away, he was very confused. Was it also a good thing? But he did see it. It was not an antique at all. He didn't understand why Qin Haodong took it. Mr. Zhang, I want it. Qin Haodong shook the small iron piece in front of Zhang Wankui. Then he put it in his pocket and stepped out of the antique shop. After walking out of the shop, he said goodbye to Qian Duo and Guofeng. Then he left and continued to look for magic instruments. He visited more than a dozen shops in succession, but still didn't find what he wanted. At this moment, he suddenly heard a scream behind him. The scream was so miserable that many people looked at the source of the sound. Qin Haodong also looked back, but he saw nothing. Just when he looked back, he suddenly bumped into something. He quickly turned around and saw a young man with a flat-top head was knocked back 3 or 4 steps, and an ancient mirror fell to the ground. The flat-top head man was Fatty Wang's third brother. He had been waiting outside the crowd for a long time. Seeing Qin Haodong get 30 million yuan in a blink of an eye, he was so jealous that he secretly swore that he must take advantage of Qin Haodong. After Qin Haodong left, Lao San had been following him. The one who screamed was also his accomplice. Lao San took advantage of this opportunity to blackmail Qin Haodong and bumped into him. My mirror, my precious mirror. Lao San's acting was not bad at all. He squatted on the ground to pick up the mirror and burst into tears. Qin Haodong had already known that this was a blackmailer. He thought to himself that there were so many tricks in this antique street. He had just walked around and unexpectedly met 2 groups of swindlers. However, he was not angry. He just quietly watched Lao San's performance. Not only him, but also the people who were wandering around immediately gathered around to see what was going on. Lao San cried for a long time. Seeing that Qin Haodong didn't speak, he immediately stood up and shouted fiercely, "Boy, you broke my precious mirror. You must pay for it." Qin Haodong said very cooperatively, "Oh, how much do you want?" Lao San cried, 30 million, not a penny less. Qin Haodong was amused by him. This guy must have just seen him sell the Xuanda censer, so he knew how much money he had. He laughed and said, "Is your mirror made of gold? Even if it's made of gold, it's not worth 30 million yuan. Lao San held the mirror in his hand and shouted righteously, "This mirror was used by Su Daji. It's much more valuable than gold. I wanted to sell it, but I didn't expect that you would break it." Chapter 88. Lao San yelled, "Don't talk nonsense. Anyway, you broke my thing. It's reasonable and legal to pay for it." Qin Haodong said, "I can pay for it, but how much is your thing worth? Shouldn't you find a professional to evaluate it? I can't give you 30 million just because you ask for it." The onlookers also said, "Yes, even antiques need to be identified by experts. How can you ask for 30 million? I think he is blackmailing people. How can a broken mirror be worth so much money?" Hearing the discussion around him, Lao San secretly regretted it. He was so jealous when he saw Qin Haodong take 30 million just now, so he said the number without thinking. Now it seemed that it was really too much. If his broken thing was really evaluated, it was likely that it would not be worth 30 yuan. Thinking of this, his momentum suddenly weakened and he said, "I don't have to ask for 30 million. How much do you think I can pay?" "How much? It depends on how much the loss is." Qin Haodong reached out and took the mirror from Lao San's hand. He played with it in his hand and said, "Although your mirror fell on the ground, it is intact. What do you want me to pay for it?" Lao San couldn't help but look at the mirror. He was surprised to find that the mirror, which had been flattened by Fatty Wang, was as good as before. There was no damage at all. What the hell was going on? He saw Fatty Wang flatten the mirror with his own eyes, but now nothing happened. After thinking for a moment, he thought that the young man must have used some special method to repair the mirror. But he just got the mirror. Wasn't it a little too fast? While he was guessing, Qin Haodong secretly shook his head and thought that the blackmailers were becoming more and more unprofessional. If they wanted to cheat money, they should find something like a vase. Even if they used this kind of mirror, they should first smash it and kick it a few times and then ask for money. How could such an intact mirror be suitable for blackmailers? Although Lao San couldn't figure it out, there was no turning back now. He shouted rudely, "The mirror fell on the ground. Although it looks fine, it must have internal injuries. You must pay for it." Qin Haodong laughed again. This guy was really funny. He said, "Internal injuries? Why didn't I see it vomiting blood?" Just then, two security guards of the antique street came in from outside the crowd. The big guy in the front asked, "What are you doing here?" Qin Haodong said, "Brother, I met a blackmailer here. He made a broken mirror and asked me for 30 million yuan. Do you think he's crazy?" The big security guard frowned and said to Lao San, "What's going on? Is that so?" "No, it's like this." Lao San originally wanted to quibble, but he suddenly changed his words. "I'm just a blackmailer. He just made my partner suffer losses in Fatty Wong's antique shop. So Fatty Wong asked me to blackmail him. I want to extort more money from him." As soon as he said this, the onlookers burst into laughter. They didn't expect this blackmailer to be so honest. He even told all his dirty things. Old Third shuddered and suddenly came to his senses. He did not know what had gotten into him just now, but he could not control himself and blurted out his inner thoughts. Qin Haodong also figured it out. It turned out that this guy was not trying to blackmail him, but Fatty Wong and his gang found him. The big security guard looked at Lao San as if he was looking at a monster and said, "In this case, come with us to the police station." Lao San was so scared that he shivered. People like him were most afraid of the police. He quickly said, "Please don't, brother. Please let me go this time. I was just confused for a moment. I won't dare to do it again." The big security guard turned to look at Qin Haodong and said, "It's mainly up to his opinion about this kind of thing." Lao San also understood this and said to Qin Haodong, "Little brother, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me this time. I have a 70-year-old mother and a child who is still in school." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "In fact, this matter is not unnegotiable." "That's great, little brother. I'll apologize to you here and bow to you." After that, Lao San bowed and apologized to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong had seen this kind of line on TV many times, so he was certainly not moved. He said, "It's not enough to apologize. When you asked me for 30 million just now, you scared me. You should give me some mental compensation, right?" "Compensation? Compensation?" Lao San was stunned. He was the blackmailer. Why did Qin Haodong ask for compensation? Why not? Then let's go to the police station. I believe the police can solve it. No. Willing. Lao San said repeatedly. It was better to pay some money than to go to the police station. He could earn money even if he lost it. If he went to the police station, it would be difficult for him to get out. "How much do you want?" Lao San asked. "How much do you have?" "I have 1,000 yuan. For some reason, Lao San reported his family's assets, which surprised him again. He had wanted to say 100 yuan, but why did he say 1,000 yuan instead? Qin Haodong frowned and looked a little dissatisfied, but he still said, 1,000 yuan is a little less, but that's it. When you come to me again, remember to bring more money." Lao San had a feeling of crying. He was blackmailer, not giving money. Why should he bring more? But now things had come to this. He could only take out the 1,000 yuan from his pocket and put it in Qin Haodong's hand. Then he turned around and fled. The onlookers burst into laughter when they saw the blackmailer end up in such a miserable situation. Qin Haodong put the 1,000 yuan in his pocket, held the mirror in his hand and shouted, "Hey, don't run. You haven't taken the prop yet." "No, it's yours." Lao San disappeared into the crowd after saying that. Qin Haodong smiled slightly. The weather was very hot, and the mirror could be used as a fan. He fanned himself with the mirror while continuing to walk along the antique street. An hour later, he had walked through the whole street, but still did not find a suitable magic instrument. He knew that magic instruments could only be found by chance, so he could only go back like this. In the fat man's antique shop, Nior looked at Lao San with his two small eyes wide open. "You're a blackmailer. You didn't even get a penny, and you let him empty your pocket. Can you be any more shameful?" The fake old Taoist followed and said, "Lao San, it's really rare to meet a blackmailer like you. You're really a disgrace to the blackmailer circle." Lao San said with a bitter face, "I don't know what's going on. What happened today was really strange. The mirror that had been kicked flat by the boss suddenly became fine again, as if it had never been kicked. and it seemed that my brain couldn't control my mouth at that time. He asked me if I was blackmailer and I said yes directly. When he asked me how much money I had in my pocket, I told him the whole story. I didn't think that way, but I did it. The old man in the tang suit, who had been silent all the time, said, "What happened today was really strange. It was the same when we led the donkey. Our thoughts suddenly became out of control." The fake old Taoist suddenly opened his eyes wide and said, "Do you think this guy knows evil methods?" Lao San nodded repeatedly and said, "It's a little like that. Now that I think about it, it's really strange. I've been in Jianghu for so many years, and I've never encountered such a strange thing." Fatty Wang blinked his small eyes and said after a moment of contemplation, "It seems that we met a master today. This matter ends here. No one should provoke that young man in the future. We can't afford to provoke him." When Qin Haodong returned home, he casually threw the mirror in his hand on the tea table, and then walked to Qi Weiner's room. When he saw the girl, he was a little surprised. The golden piece on Qi Weiner's forehead, which was equivalent to a dime when he left in the morning, was now only the size of a peanut. This meant that the ghost fetus was swallowing faster and faster. Now it seemed that she was likely to die tonight. The deathly stillness in Qi Weiner's eyes became more and more intense. She glanced at Qin Haodong as if she was looking at a stranger. She said in a cold voice, "You're back." "Yes." Qin Haodong nodded. "Is everything ready?" "Almost," Qin Haodong said with some confidence. "It seems that you don't have much confidence," Qi Weiner said and took out a dagger from the bedside and handed it to Qin Haodong. "What do you mean?" Qin Haodong asked. "You promised me that if you can't cure me, you must kill me. I don't want to become a monster that is neither human nor ghost." Qi Weiner's voice became more and more indifferent, as if she was talking about something that had nothing to do with her. "Don't worry, I will cure you." Although Qin Haodong said so, he still took the dagger. If this thing really went to the point of no return, he could only choose to kill Qi Weiner. After that, he returned to the living room and took out the cinnabar yellow joss paper and other things he bought and put them on the tea table, along with the small iron amulet. After everything was ready, he began to draw talismans. However, with his current cultivation level, he couldn't draw talismans that were too high. He could only draw some of the most basic soul-calming talismans and exorcism talismans. Even so, the success rate was not very high. Only 1 or 2 out of 10 talismans were successful. After drawing, Qin Haodong first put a soul-calming talisman on Qi Weiner's Naiwan Palace. With a burst of yellow light flashing, the black gas gathered between her eyebrows quickly retreated to both sides, leaving an egg-sized space. Seemed to be effective. Qin Haodong was happy and put 2 exorcism talismans on Qi Weiner's temples. This time the yellow light was stronger, and the black gas was driven below the neck. After the black gas was expelled, a beautiful face was revealed, and Qi Weiner's eyes also returned to normal. "Dr. Qin, thank you." Qi Weiner threw herself into Qin Haodong's arms and cried with joy. For 10 years, she had been troubled by the ghost fetus and faced the pressure of being devoured all the time. The pain in her heart could be imagined. At the moment when she knew that she was likely to become a ghost slave, her heart was full of despair. Otherwise she would not give the dagger she prepared to Qin Haodong. Now she finally saw the hope of cure. How could she not be happy? Feeling the soft pressure on his chest, Qin Haodong felt a little embarrassed. He pushed Qi Weiner away and said, "Now it's only the first step to success. To completely expel the ghost fetus from your body, I have to continue to draw more talismans." "Okay, Dr. Qin, I'll help you," Qi Weiner said and helped Qin Haodong tidy up the yellow joss paper and grind the cinnabar. Chapter 89. Qin Haodong glanced at the phone number. It was Lin Momo. He pressed the answer button, but the voice of the little fellow came from the other side of the phone. "Papa, guess who I am?" the little fellow asked in a childish voice. Hearing his daughter's voice, Qin Haodong immediately felt much better. He said very cooperatively, "Oh, are you Snow White?" "No, I'm not Snow White," the little fellow said and giggled. "Is that a beautiful and lovely sheep?" No, I'm not a sheep," Qin Haodong said. Then it must be our most beautiful and lovely little princess Tang Tang. That's right, I'm Tang Tang. The little fellow said happily, Papa, I'm out of school. Why didn't you pick me up? Qin Haodong said, Papa has something to do, so I didn't go. I promise I'll pick you up tomorrow, okay? Okay. But don't forget that I'm going to the singing competition tonight. Don't worry, Papa won't forget. Go home with Mama for dinner, and Papa will pick you up later. Today was the semi-final of the singing competition, and Qin Haodong had always kept it in mind. That's great. Bye, Papa. The little fellow said and hung up. Dr. Qin, you're a good father. Qi Weiner said next to him. You sound like your father is not good. Qin Haodong said and put the phone in his hand on the tea table. My father is really not good. He has been busy as long as I can remember, and he has no time to care about me. Qi Weiner said gloomily. Qin Haodong didn't expect that it was another girl who lacked fatherly love. He secretly shook his head, but he didn't want to continue this heavy topic, so he said, Oh, let's not talk about this now. Let's hurry up and draw the talismans, and try to get rid of the ghost fetus in you as soon as possible. Then he began to draw the talismans with a brush. Gradually he got some feeling back and the success rate was getting higher and higher. Later he could draw 1 out of 3. To be safe, Qin Haodong used 70 or 80 talismans in one breath. Deep in the mountains in an ancient temple, an old Taoist with white hair and beard, who looked like an immortal, sat in front of a table and slowly tasted the tea in his cup. Beside him was a shrine, but it did not seem to be dedicated to the 3 pure ones. Instead, there were 5 skulls. These 5 skulls were not some kind of handicraft but real human skulls. Moreover, there were 5 colors: gold, green, blue, red, and yellow. On one side there was the sage-like Taoist priest, and on the other side there were 5 extremely strange skulls. This set of images looked extremely incongruous when put together. The old Taoist was tasting his tea when the golden skull suddenly trembled and let out a ghostly howl. The old Taoist frowned and put down the teacup in his hand. He looked back at the golden skeleton and said, Someone dares to touch my ghost? He really doesn't want to live anymore. After that, he moved his fingers and pinched a spell. After a loud shout, a thick black gas shot towards the golden skeleton. After being covered by the black gas, the golden skeleton immediately calmed down and stopped trembling. The ghostly howls also disappeared. Qin Haodong had just finished drawing the talisman. After finishing the drawing, he heard Qi Wan let out a painful moan. The 3 talismans on her head were burning and soon turned into ashes flying everywhere. Then the black gas that had been pressed below her head came back and swallowed Qi Weiner's head at a very fast speed. Soon, there was only a golden grain of rice left on her forehead. Oh no! Although he didn't know why Qi Wan's ghost fetus suddenly became so powerful, Qin Haodong had no time to think about it. He grabbed the talisman in his hand. And stuck it to her quickly. He moved like lightning. In the blink of an eye, he had already drawn 76 talismans and stuck them all over Qi Weiner's body. It stuck all over Qi Wan's body, as if she was wearing a new set of clothes. The talisman? After being stuck, a yellow light suddenly appeared and suppressed the black gas. Although the black gas had not been completely removed from her body and was still desperately resisting, it was only a matter of time before it was destroyed. Qin Haodong took a long breath. Fortunately, he had drawn so many talismans. Otherwise, it would be really difficult to suppress the ghost fetus. On the other side, the old Taoist saw the golden skeleton in front of him tremble violently again, and it was more serious than last time. There was a great tendency to break. The old Taoist was shocked. It seemed that there was also a master over there. You think you can break my ghost-raising technique in this way? You really underestimate me. Today, I will let you be the first sacrifice of the ghost fetus. After that, the old Taoist took out a talisman and threw it into the air. The talisman was thrown into the air. After rising into the air, it spontaneously burned without fire. Then it turned into a black light rushing to the golden skeleton and quickly disappeared. After the golden skeleton absorbed the black light suddenly rose and instantly turned from gold to pure black. Qin Haodong was just relieved and was going to continue to draw more talismans. But as soon as he grabbed the brush, he heard a bang. All the captives on Chi Weiner's body were burning, and they were all emitting black flames, which looked very gloomy. No more talismans? After being suppressed, the black gas suddenly rose and swallowed Chi Weiner whole. Even the last golden point between her eyebrows disappeared. Kill me, hurry up. This was the last sentence left by Chi Weiner. I failed after all. Looking at Chi Weiner, who was swallowed by the black gas, Qin Haodong secretly sighed in his heart. He only estimated the power of the ghost fetus, but ignored the person who raised the ghost behind it. It seemed that he could only take the last way now. Thinking of this, he turned his hand and grabbed the dagger behind him. Since there was no cure, he could only kill the ghost slave in front of him. At this time Chi Weiner howled again, which sounded like a ghost wailing and a wolf howling. Her body suddenly rose to about 2 meters, which was much taller than Qin Haodong. Her hands were not only covered with black hair, but also grew sharp claws of 1 inch long. Her body suddenly became bigger, and the outer clothes were torn inch by inch, flying out like black butterflies. But at this time, Chi Weiner looked ferocious and extremely ugly. Her dark body was like a stone. Although she was naked, she did not have any beauty of a woman. From this moment on, she was no longer Chi Weiner, but a ghost slave. Qin Haodong did not care much anymore. The cultivation of the ghost slave might be a little low when it was first formed. If he could not kill it now, there would be no chance in the future. He roared, waved the dagger in his hand, and stabbed it fiercely to the back of the ghost slave's heart. This knife was fast and fierce. Before the ghost slave reacted, it had been stabbed in the back of the heart. But after the knife stabbed down, there was no feeling of penetrating the flesh. On the contrary, there was a tinkling sound just like stabbing the steel. The ghost slave felt the attack behind it, suddenly turned around, and grabbed the dagger in Qin Haodong's hand. The dagger, which was originally made of refined steel, was as soft as noodles under the ghost slave's sharp claws. It was torn into a pile of pieces in 2 or 3 times. What the hell, this guy is too fierce. Qin Haodong had also met with the people of the ghost sect, but at that time his cultivation had reached the tribulation period. He could kill hundreds of ghost slaves at the initial level by blowing his breath. But it was different at this time. He did not even have the cultivation of the Zhuji realm. Once the ghost slave was formed, it had the cultivation of the Zhuji realm, so it was suppressed from the level. After the ghost slave destroyed the dagger, it roared again, and suddenly punched Qin Haodong's chest. The huge fist was not much different from the size of a volleyball. With the sharp claws, it was terrible. In a hurry, Qin Haodong also punched. One big fist and one small fist collided with each other, making a muffled bang. His whole body was slapped out like a volleyball. Qin Haodong felt the heat in his chest, and he was almost beaten to spit blood. There was an essential difference between the Zhuji realm and the Lianqi realm. The cultivation gap between him and the ghost slave was too big. Now he could only rely on the exquisite moves and fast body movements of his previous life. After being beaten back by one move, Qin Haodong displayed the unique skill of his previous life, dragon steps. His feet stepped in the air for a few times, and then he steadily landed on the ground. But the ghost slave did not give him a chance to breathe. It rushed to him again, and the sharp claws directly grabbed his head. If his head was grabbed this time, it would definitely become a rotten watermelon. Qin Haodong hurriedly displayed dragon steps again, and his body turned into a shadow and rushed to the back of the ghost slave. The ghost slave directly grabbed the wall behind him with one claw, and a huge hole was dug out with a bang. Qin Haodong took advantage of this opportunity to hit the back of the ghost slave's head with 2 palms. But the body of the ghost slave was as hard as steel. This palm did not cause any harm, but stimulated its fierceness. It turned back and clawed at Qin Haodong again. Qin Haodong was completely dumbfounded. Even though he was agile and his moves were ingenious, the cultivation of the ghost slave was much higher than his. Besides, the ghost slave's body was invulnerable. He had no way to break through this kind of superhuman defense. If he was in other places, he could escape immediately, and the ghost slave could do nothing to him. But now he could not, because Lin Momo and the little fellow were next door. The ghost slave was extremely ferocious when it was just formed. If it rushed out at this time, No one in the entire community could survive, not to mention the Lin's villa, which was close at hand. His cultivation at the 9th level of Qi refining stage could not do anything to the ghost slave, not to mention the divine mercenaries, which only had the cultivation of level 8. If he fought with the ghost slave, he would only be sending himself to death. For the two most important women in his life, Qin Haodong swore not to retreat. He tried his best to fight with the ghost slave. After fighting for dozens of moves, all kinds of furniture in the house had been torn into pieces by the ghost slave, and even the walls had been dug out with dozens of holes of different sizes. But after fighting for a long time, it could not catch Qin Haodong. The ghost slave seemed to lose interest, and turned around to rush out of the window. Qin Haodong was shocked. If the ghost slave rushed out of the villa, he would have no way to deal with it. The Lin's villa next to him would definitely be destroyed. He jumped up in the air and kicked the back of the ghost slave's head. Feeling the attack from behind, the ugly corner of the ghost slave's mouth slightly tilted up, as if it was sneering. It suddenly turned around and punched Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong missed his kick, and he hurriedly punched the ghost slave's big fist with his fists. However, his two fists could not compare with the one of the ghost slave. He was hit and flew out directly. The tea table in the living room was directly smashed into two pieces, and the cinnabar yellow joss paper on it was scattered on the ground. He felt a violent qi and blood rolling in his chest. The blood that had been suppressed for a long time could not be controlled any longer, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. After the mouthful of blood came out, it just sprayed on the mirror that slid to the side. A strange scene appeared. The blood fell on the mirror and was instantly absorbed, leaving no trace. Chapter 90. Qin Haodong didn't notice the change of the mirror. He was trying his best to find the black iron amulet, finding it was equal to having one more life. Otherwise, he might be killed by the ghost slave. After punching Qin Haodong, the ghost slave didn't go out through the window. Instead, it turned back. Its huge body was as fast as lightning, and it clawed at Qin Haodong's back. Feeling the crisis behind him, Qin Haodong quickly turned over. The ghost slave's claw missed its target and directly scratched a big hole in the solid wood floor under its body. But it didn't stop at all. Its other claw clawed at Qin Haodong's chest like lightning. Qin Haodong turned over again and escaped the fatal blow again. But his body had hit the wall next to him. It was impossible for him to escape. It was over. Qin Haodong sighed. At this time he had no ability to resist. Not only did he fail to cure Qi Wan, but he also harmed Lin Momo and the little fellow. It was too late for regrets. If he had known this, he would have taken Qi Wan to the deep forest for treatment instead of bringing her home. At this time he heard the ghost slave scream in his ear. Qin Haodong turned his head and saw the ghost slave's sharp claw actually scratching the mirror on the ground. The mirror had changed a lot. One side was black and the other side was red. And the ghost slave just grabbed the black side. At this time the mirror looked like a high-powered exhaust hood. The black gas on the ghost slave was crazily sucked in. The black gas was the power source of the ghost slave. After being sucked out, it was extremely painful. After a crazy roar, it quickly pulled back its sharp claw. Even so, the color of the arm looked much lighter than other parts. It could be seen that it had suffered a heavy loss. Qin Haodong opened his eyes wide. This mirror was taken back by him. At that time he didn't feel the existence of any spiritual qi. But now the spiritual qi was soaring. Obviously it was a super powerful celestial device, even reaching the level of a divine weapon. Although he was confused, he didn't have time to study it too much. Compared with that, saving his life was the first priority. He quickly grabbed the mirror in his hand. The ghost slave was obviously afraid of this mirror. It stepped back a few steps and didn't attack again. Qin Haodong took the mirror in his hand and immediately confirmed his guess. A divine weapon. This was definitely a divine artifact. When he was in the cultivation world, he didn't even have a divine artifact. He didn't expect that after reincarnation, he would actually obtain a great divine artifact that he yearned for even in his dreams. He examined it carefully again. Apart from being twice the size of the mirror, there were 3 more ancient words on the handle. Yin Yang mirror. With 500 years of experience in the cultivation world, he immediately understood what was going on. This artifact must have been sealed by a special method, so he could not feel the existence of spiritual energy. Just now he had spat a mouthful of blood on the mirror, and by a freak combination of factors, the seal on the mirror was unlocked, allowing the yin-yang mirror to see the light of day again. Fate was really playing tricks on people. He had wandered around the antique street, looking for a magic instrument everywhere, but he couldn't find it. Unexpectedly, someone took the initiative to give him a magic instrument. With the yin-yang mirror in his hand, Qin Haodong was greatly refreshed. A small ghost slave was not worth mentioning in front of a magic instrument. The reason why the ghost slave could escape just now was that the yin-yang mirror reacted spontaneously. If someone controlled it, it was just a matter of minutes to destroy it. Although he hadn't controlled a magic instrument in the cultivation world, he had used a fairy weapon. He knew that there were no more than 3 ways to control it. One was to make the magic instrument recognize its owner, the other was to use incantations, and the other was to inject genuine qi. Now it was impossible for it to recognize its owner. There was no time. His cultivation was too low to use incantations. It seemed that he could only have a try with genuine qi. Thinking of this, he injected the green with genuine qi in his body into the yin-yang mirror along the handle. After being injected with genuine qi, the mirror surface of the yin-yang mirror instantly became flexible. He took the yin side of the yin-yang mirror. Although the color was still dark and there was no change, it gave people a feeling of bottomless. The ghost slave instinctively felt a kind of fear. It turned its head and was about to run away. Qin Haodong turned the mirror over and shone it with the yin side. After being shown by the yin-yang mirror, the body of the ghost slave immediately became stiff and had no ability to resist. The black qi on its body turned into rolling smoke and was sucked into the yin-yang mirror. In just a few seconds, the yin-yang mirror sucked all the black qi on the ghost slave. The originally tall and ugly ghost slave began to shrink slowly and turned into the appearance of Qi Wan. Then it fell to the ground with a plop. At the same time, in the ancient temple, the golden skull on the shrine suddenly broke. The old Taoist spat out a mouthful of blood. Obviously, he was seriously injured. He took out a small white jade bottle from his arms, poured out a black elixir and swallowed it. Then he looked better. "Who is it? You dare to break the Taoist's magic. I will never forgive you." In the villa, the crisis was resolved. Qin Haodong put away the yin-yang mirror. It was a good artifact, but it consumed a lot of true qi. Just using it for a while had consumed about half of his true qi. And he could feel that because his cultivation was too low, he could only use a very small part of the function of the yin-yang mirror, maybe even less than 1%. He looked at Qi Wan. Her clothes had been completely broken when she was just turned into a ghost slave. At this time, her perfect body without any flaws was exposed to the air without any cover. Because of the fierce fight just now, the living room was completely turned into a garbage dump. Qin Haodong carried Qi Wan to his room, put her on the bed and covered her with a sheet. Qi Wan-er's eyes were closed tightly. She had fallen into a deep coma. Her face was as pale as paper without any blood. It seemed that turning into a ghost slave consumed a lot of her energy. Qin Haodong reached out his hand on her wrist and began to feel the pulse. Then he frowned immediately. Although Qi Wan-er was still alive, her yang qi was very weak. It seemed that she had been swallowed by the ghost fetus. If it went on like this, she would definitely die. If he wanted to save her, he had to inject a lot of yang qi. But where could he find yang qi? Suddenly, he thought of the yin-yang mirror in his hand. Now the yin mirror of the yin-yang mirror could absorb yin qi and ghost qi. He didn't know whether the yang mirror could replenish yang qi for people. Thinking of this, he tore off the sheet on Qi Wan-er's body. Then he took out the yin-yang mirror again. He injected green with genuine qi and shone the red yang mirror on the bed. A golden light suddenly shot out from the yin-yang mirror, covering Qi Wan-er's body completely. A large amount of yang qi instantly filled the empty body. Sure enough, it worked. Although the yin-yang mirror only shone for a second, Qi Wan-er's snow-white skin on the bed had become ruddy. Qin Haodong's body shook slightly. This time, using the yang mirror consumed more energy than the last time. The genuine qi in his body had been completely consumed. He thought of it and put the yin-yang mirror into the storage ring. Then he sat down on the chair next to him and took the time to restore the consumed genuine qi. Qi Wan slowly regained consciousness. Thinking of her past, she suddenly sat up on the bed. Had she become a ghost slave? Then a cold breeze blew over him. Lowering his head, he saw a flawless body that was as white as jade. What happened? Is this me? Qi Wan was very surprised. Over the years her body was as dark as ink. She never thought that it would be so white. She reached out and stroked the smooth skin. 2 lines of tears flowed from her eyes. It's me. It's really me. How did I suddenly become like this? Could it be that Dr. Qin cured me? Yes, where is Dr. Qin? She quickly looked around and saw Qin Haodong sitting on the chair at the head of the bed. Seeing Qin Haodong, Qi Weiner instantly came to her senses and let out a shrill scream. She quickly grabbed the bed sheet and covered her body. Qin Haodong was practicing with his eyes closed. After hearing the scream, he immediately opened his eyes. How are you? Are you okay? No. I'm fine. Qi Wan's cheeks were crimson. After removing the ghost fetus, she had become a normal girl. That's good. Qin Haodong also felt that Qi Wan had completely returned to normal at this time. Dr. Qin, did you save me? Qi Wan asked. Yes. Qin Haodong nodded. From today on, you are a normal person. The ghost fetus has been removed from your body. Great, I'm finally normal. I'm finally like an ordinary person. Hearing the news, Qi Wan burst into tears. She had been troubled by the ghost fetus all these years and suffered too much pain and grievances. After crying for a while, she slowly calmed down and suddenly thought of a problem. Dr. Qin, where are my clothes? She was very confused. Why did she have no clothes just now? Was it the need for treatment? Or was there any other special reason? Qin Haodong saw her mind and could not help but smile bitterly. She had just become a ghost slave. No man would have any idea. He said, in fact, you have just become a ghost slave, and the clothes on your body were torn at that time. What? I've become a ghost slave? Then what's going on now? Qi Wan asked in surprise. It's a long story. You're not destined to die. I saved you again. Qin Haodong said, let me feel your pulse again. It's the first time I've seen you like this. I don't know how you've recovered. After that, he stood up from the chair but felt weak. He swayed a few times and barely stood firm. Dr. Qin, are you okay? Qi Wan asked with concern. At this time, she understood that Qin Haodong must have paid a lot. No wonder he didn't even cover her with a sheet just now. She really had no strength to stand up. I'm fine. I'm just a little exhausted. Qin Haodong came to the bed with the help of the wall and began to feel Qi Wan's pulse. Good, very good. Qin Haodong took back his right hand and said, you got a blessing in disguise this time. You didn't become a ghost slave, but you have the ability of a ghost slave. What do you mean? Qi Wan asked in surprise. Punch the wall and you will understand. Although she didn't understand what Qin Haodong meant, Qi Wan still punched the wall gently as he said. She didn't use too much strength this time, but with a bang the gravel flew everywhere, and the hard cement wall was punched out a big hole. Qi Wan looked at her unscathed fist and the big hole on the wall. She asked in surprise, what the hell is going on? Qin Haodong said, after you became a ghost slave, the ghost qi on your body was cleared by me. But the ability was left for you. You not only have the cultivation of a master of internal strength, but also will improve much faster than ordinary people in the future. It won't take long for you to reach the realm of supreme power. That is to say, I'm a master now. Absolutely a master, much better than me, Qin Haodong said. Great, that's great. Dr. Qin, brother Qin, thank you. You are my great benefactor. Chapter 91. Qi Weiner was so excited that she forgot that Qin Haodong was very weak at this time. He needed to hold the wall when he walked. How could he stand her hug like this? Sure enough, Qin Haodong, who had exhausted his zhenqi, was thrown to the ground directly. Qi Weiner, who had no mental preparation, fell on Qin Haodong's body. Under the action of inertia, her body slid forward a little, and the two plump breasts just pressed heavily on his face. "Ah, are you okay?" Qi Weiner realized that Qin Haodong had been injured. She quickly climbed down from him and bent down to help him up. Qin Haodong was originally just exhausted, but he suddenly felt dizzy after being tossed around by Qi Weiner. It was not his fault. Any healthy man would also feel dizzy when facing the unobstructed scenery in front of him. "I'm fine now, but if you don't get up, something will really happen." Qin Haodong looked at the two tempting depth charges in front of him and said weakly, "Ah." Qi Weiner realized that something was wrong and quickly stood up. But this time another scenery was revealed, which made Qin Haodong's nostrils hot and he almost spit blood. Fortunately, at this time, Qi Weiner had once again pulled the sheet on the bed and wrapped her body in it. Seeing the beautiful scenery disappear, Qin Haodong held the wall and slowly climbed up from the ground. Qi Weiner blushed and said, "Brother Qin, I'm sorry. I was too excited just now. Are you okay?" Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, "I'm fine. I'll be fine after a rest." Qi Weiner looked at the big hole in the wall and said apologetically, "Brother Qin, I'm really sorry. You see, I've broken your room." "That's broken," Qin Haodong said and turned to go out. "Come out with me and have a look." Qi Weiner didn't know what Qin Haodong meant, but she followed him out of the room and came to the living room on the third floor. Seeing everything in front of her, she was completely dumbfounded. The original good villa had become a broken wall at this time, as if it had suffered a catastrophe. Qin Haodong said, "Compared with this, the small hole in the wall is nothing. Did I do all this?" Qi Weiner couldn't believe her eyes. Looking at the tragic scene and the bloodstains on the ground, she finally understood why Qin Haodong was so weak. "It's you and it's not you. It's all caused by the ghost slave." Qin Haodong took 2 steps forward and bent down to pick up a piece of black iron from the ground. It seemed that he must carry this thing with him in the future. If he had it just now, he wouldn't have been so badly injured. However, everything had its cause and effect. If he had not been injured and vomited blood, he would not have been able to unlock the seal on the mirror of Yin-Yang, let alone kill the ghost slave who had reached the level of covert power. "Let's go downstairs and talk. This place is too messy. We'll have to find someone to clean it up tomorrow." Qin Haodong said as he slowly walked downstairs. Qi Weiner quickly stepped forward and held his arm. Feeling the amazing elasticity on his arm and thinking of the beautiful scenery he had just seen, Qin Haodong couldn't help but feel a fire in his heart and quickly moved his attention away. He said, "When you were telling your fortune, didn't the old Taoist say that you had a golden fate?" "Yes, how do you know?" Qi Weiner asked. "I just saw it. When I fought with the ghost slave, its body was as hard as iron, and it had exerted the metal property to the fullest. So I speculated that you must have a golden fate and a yin property, so you were chosen by the old Taoist as the recipient of the ghost fetus." Qi Weiner said bitterly, "This old Taoist is so hateful. If I meet him again, I will twist his head off and kick it like a ball." From the ghost slave, I can see that the old Taoist cultivation is absolutely not low. With your current cultivation, you'd better stay away from him as far as possible. Speaking of this, Qin Haodong's expression became serious, and I guess that the old Taoist used the 5 elements ghost refining technique. You are just the metal of the 5 ghosts and so on. There are 4 ghost slaves, namely wood, water, earth and fire. What there are? Qi Weiner opened her mouth in surprise. Qin Haodong said, "I guess it should be so, but it is absolutely not easy to gather the other 4 ghost slaves. The recipient of the ghost fetus must be a virgin, a yin property, and meet the 4 properties of wood, water, earth and fire. This condition is too harsh, so it is difficult to achieve." While talking, they came downstairs. Qin Haodong went to the cloakroom and took out a set of his t-shirt and big shorts, and threw them to Qi Weiner. "I don't have women's clothes here. You can make do with them first." Qi Weiner took the clothes into the room, changed the bedsheet on her body, and put on the t-shirt and big shorts. This kind of loose dress showed a different kind of charm, especially when thinking that it was all empty inside. Qin Haodong's heart was hot again. He said, "Well, you call Director Sher and ask him to take you back." "Go back? Why should I go back?" Qi Weiner asked. Qin Haodong looked surprised. You have fully recovered now, why do you still stay here? Chi Wan said. I am already your woman. Naturally, I have to stay here with you. Hey, don't be like this. Qin Haodong said quickly, I just treated you and did nothing else. You can't blackmail me, can you? Although this woman was really beautiful and hot, he couldn't say that she was his woman after a few glances. Look at you. Am I so terrible? Am I not good enough for you? Chi Wan stared at Qin Haodong and said, You saved my life, so I am yours from now on. I will do whatever you want me to do. Oh, that's it. Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief. Chi Wan had superhuman hacking skills and was a warrior at the level of covert power. He really needed such a talent around him. Well, I just started a security company. If you want, you can stay and help me. Chi Wan said, No problem. I am yours from now on. Well, Qin Haodong's words could arouse infinite imagination. Qin Haodong said, You take a rest first. I need to restore my cultivation as soon as possible. I will take my daughter to participate in the singing competition later. After that, he sat cross-legged on the ground and began to repair his injuries and restore his exhausted genuine qi. After more than a day, Chi Wan knew everything about Qin Haodong, so she didn't ask any more questions. She took her mobile phone and went to the next room. She dialed a series of numbers. After the phone was connected, she said excitedly, Mom, this is Wan. I am all cured. Really? Wan, are you really cured? A middle-aged woman's excited voice came from the other side of the phone. It was Chi Wan-er's mother, Shizhishuan. Yes, Mom. I am completely cured. I won't do it again. Shizhishuan cried excitedly on the other side of the phone. Your uncle said that he found a magic doctor for you and asked me not to bother you these days. I didn't have much hope. I didn't expect that he really cured you. Her daughter's strange illness had been like a heavy stone pressing on her heart these years. Now she was cured, which was great news for her. Shirkuahai didn't want his sister to worry, so he only told her that Chi Wan had found a magic doctor to cure her. He didn't tell her about the ghost fetus. After being happy, Shizhishuan said again, Wan, I will go with your father tomorrow to thank the great magic doctor. Mom, don't come. Chi Wan said, Mom, not only don't come, but also keep the news secret for me. Don't let Dad know that I am cured. You little girl, what are you going to do? Your father has been worried about your illness these years. Now you are cured. Why don't you let him be happy? Chi Wan smiled and said, Mom, you know my father's temper. If he knows that he will take me back as soon as he is cured, I want to play outside for a few days. Shizhishuan thought about it. Her daughter had been suffering from a strange illness these years. She had been hiding at home and never went out. She was really depressed. It was not a bad thing to play outside for a few days. She said, Well, but you can't play for too long. Come back when it's almost time. You must protect yourself outside. When you come back, we will thank the magic doctor. After all, he cured the eldest princess of the Qi family. As a mother, I have to thank him in person. Thank you, Mom. You have to tell my uncle not to let him leak it to my father. Chi Wan hung up the phone happily after saying that. Qin Haodong practiced for about an hour and was awakened by a phone ringing. He opened his eyes. Although his cultivation had not recovered to the peak state, at least he could move freely. He took out the phone and found it was the little fellow. Papa, when will you take me? The game is about to start. The little fellow said eagerly. Wait, Papa will be there soon. Qin Haodong hung up the phone and got up to change a suit of clothes. Brother Qin, I will go with you. Chi Wan took his arm and said. Well, I will find you a suit of clothes. Qin Haodong came to the Lin's villa with Chi Wan. The little fellow saw him and immediately rushed over. But she did not see Lin Momo. Papa, Mom went to work again. She can't watch me go to the game. The little fellow said with her mouth pursed. Obviously, she was not satisfied with Lin Momo's departure. Mom is busy with work. You can go with Papa. Qin Haodong kissed the little fellow's cheek and said. And there is an aunt to accompany you. The little fellow was just busy complaining to Qin Haodong and noticed Chi Wan next to him. Auntie, you are so beautiful. The little fellow said happily. Auntie, are you going with me to the game? Of course I will go with you. Chi Wan-er was completely fascinated by the cute appearance of the little fellow, and liked her very much. Qin Haodong found a suit of Lin Momo's clothes for Chi Wan-er. They were about the same size, so it was just right for her. After getting ready, Qin Haodong drove the little fellow and Chi Wan-er to the Jiangnan Art Museum. In the Jiangnan Art Museum, Wang Hongbing and his family were standing in front of the door, followed by 7 or 8 bodyguards. Wang Hongbing and Ma Hong both wore a pair of big sunglasses, which were big enough to cover half of their faces. They wore sunglasses at night not to look cool, but because their panda eyes, which had been beaten by Qin Haodong yesterday, had not faded. It was too shameful to be seen. Wang Guan asked Papa, "Why don't we go in?" Chapter 92. Ma Hong pushed the sunglasses on the bridge of her nose and whispered, "Honey, that gigolo boy is very powerful. Can we beat him?" "Don't worry. No matter how powerful a person is, he can't be that powerful. The bodyguards I hired this time are not the good-looking but useless ones. They are all elites of Daddy's security company. One of them is an 8th-grade bodyguard, and 6 of them are 7th-grade bodyguards. They will beat the shit out of that guy." It turned out that after the last time, Wang Hongbing swore to take revenge. He directly fired all the previous bodyguards and hired 7 bodyguards from Daddy's security company with a lot of money. The leader was Zhang Tiniu, an 8th-grade bodyguard. Wang Hongbing continued to say excitedly, "I've seen the abilities of these people. That's real kung fu, not just for show. As long as that gigolo comes, I promise I'll beat him until he kneels and calls me daddy." While he was talking, Wang Guan pointed to the front and shouted, "Papa, look! They are coming!" Wang Hongbing looked forward and saw Qin Haodong coming with Tang Tang in his arms, followed by a beautiful woman. He waved his hand to the bodyguards behind him and shouted, "Get ready. Beat him hard when I ask you to. If anything happens, it's on me." Qin Haodong walked to the door and saw Wang Hongbing standing in front of the door. He asked with a smile, "Boss Wang, you are so early. Why are you wearing sunglasses at night? Are your eyes sick?" "You're sick. Your whole family is sick." Wang Hongbing shouted angrily, "Boy, I'll give you another chance. Kneel down and apologize to me, and then leave with your daughter. You're not allowed to participate in the competition." "What if I don't agree?" Qin Haodong laughed. "If you don't agree, I will beat you until you agree." Wang Hongbing pointed to the bodyguards behind him and said, "See? They are bodyguards from Daddy's security company. Your poor kung fu is no match for them." The little fellow shouted, "Brag, brag. My papa is the best." Chi Wan-er said, "Brother Qin, do you want me to help you teach this guy a lesson?" Qin Haodong said, "There's no need. He's just a shrimp. He can't make any waves at all." Seeing that Qin Haodong didn't take him seriously, Wang Hongbing was furious. He waved to the bodyguards behind him and said, "Beat him hard. Beat him until his mother can't recognize him." According to his plan, as long as he gave the order, Zhang Tiniu and the others would definitely beat Qin Haodong up. However, after shouting for a long time, the bodyguards behind him did not move at all, as if they had heard nothing. He shouted angrily, "What's wrong with you? Are you King deaf? Didn't you hear what I said?" This time Zhang Tiniu moved. He strode to Qin Haodong and bowed deeply. "Boss, do you want us to teach this guy a lesson?" It turned out that they had already recognized the boss, but Qin Haodong had stopped them with his eyes. "What? Boss?" Wang Hongbing was stunned at first, and then he shouted, "Zhang Tiniu, are you crazy? Don't call him boss. I'm your boss." Qin Haodong also felt funny. It turned out that Wang Hongbing dared to come to him because he was a bodyguard of his daddy's security company. He waved his hand to Zhang Tiniu and said with a smile, "Forget it. After all, he is a client of our company. It's not good for you to beat him." After that, he handed the little fellow to Chi Wan-er beside him and stepped in front of Wang Hongbing. He raised his hand and took off the glasses on his face. Then he waved his right fist and added more weight to the 2 panda eyes that had become a little faint. "Ah!" Wang Hongbing screamed after being beaten. Then he came to his senses and roared angrily at Zhang Tiniu and the others, "I paid you to be my bodyguards, but you just watched me being beaten. What the F***ck is this daddy security company? Is this how they train bodyguards? Wait for me to complain about you. Zhang Tinyu said. It's no use complaining. The first rule of our daddy security company has clearly written that everything is centered on the boss, and we must obey the boss's orders. You asked us to beat the boss, which has already violated our agreement. If there is a breach of contract, it should be you. What? You said he's your boss? Wang Hongbing was confused. It took him a long time to realize that the boss Zhang Tinyu had just mentioned was completely different from the boss he knew. He didn't expect that the young man in front of him was the boss behind the famous daddy security company. Qin Haodong smiled at him and said, "Thank you for taking care of our company's business." Then he said to Zhang Tinyu and the others, "Boss Wang is a client of our company. We must protect him well. We can't let the client be wronged." After that, he took the little fellow from Qi Wan and smiled at Wang Hongbing again. Then he strode into the gate of the art gallery. Wang Hongbing felt so aggrieved that he wanted to die. His chest felt like it was about to explode. "Protect me? You were the one who hit me just now, okay?" Seeing Qin Haodong leave, he turned back and shouted at Zhang Tinyu and the others, "Get out of here, all of you. You're fired." Zhang Tinyu said calmly, "Boss Wang, you can fire us, but you have to think about it. Now you're the one who broke the contract. If you fire us, the liquidated damages will not be refunded." When Wang Hongbing hired the bodyguards, he signed the employment agreement strictly according to the company's procedures. The first article of the agreement stated that the employer could not ask the company's staff to disrespect the boss. At that time, he never dreamed that Qin Haodong was the boss of Daddy Security Company. So he signed the agreement without thinking and paid a large sum of liquidated damages. He didn't expect that it was him who broke the contract. "Get out of here. Get out of here. I don't want the money." Wang Hongbing finally drove Zhang Tinyu and the others away. Although he lost a lot of money, it was better than looking at these people angry. He hired these bodyguards to deal with Qin Haodong. But just now, as long as Qin Haodong said a word, these people would beat him. In contrast, it was better to fire them. "Goodbye, Mr. Wang. I hope you can take care of our company's business in the future." Zhang Tinyu didn't care about this kind of thing at all. Now Daddy Security Company was very famous, and there were many employers waiting in line. He didn't care about losing one, not to mention making a lot of money. He waved to Wang Hongbing politely, and then went back to the security company with his bodyguards. Looking at Zhang Tinyu and the others leaving, Wang Hongbing felt very aggrieved, but there was nothing he could do. After all, he had hired Zhang Tinyu's staff. Seeing that the competition was about to start, he could only go in with Wang Guan. After Qin Haodong entered the venue, he saw Wang Jiani waiting there. Compared to yesterday, her face was full of joy today, and she looked especially cheerful. "Hello, Ms. Wang." The little fellow took the initiative to greet Wang Jiani. "Ms. Wang, is there any good news?" Qin Haodong also said with a smile. "Of course there is." Wang Jiani said and took out a small book from her bag. There were 3 big words on it: divorce certificate. She said excitedly, "I'm divorced. I finally got rid of the devil Dong Chao." "Oh, that's really good," Qin Haodong said. "Thank you, Dr. Qin. Without your help, I don't know what would happen to me now." Wang Jiani said gratefully, "It's nothing. Dong Chao has been arrested. You can live a peaceful life in Jiangnan City. You can come to me if you have any difficulties." After Qin Haodong said that, Wang Jiani's face became gloomy. She was not as excited as before. She said, "Dr. Qin, Dong Chao has been released. His family is very powerful in Shanghai. You should be careful. Maybe this bastard will come to you for revenge." Qin Haodong didn't care about Dong Chao at all, but he still asked in surprise, "Didn't that bastard gather people to take drugs? How could he let him go?" Wang Jiani said, "I'm the only one who knew that Dong Chao gathered people to take drugs. But it's not enough for me to report it. So Officer Naylan could only fine him for taking drugs. It's not a crime." Qin Haodong nodded. He had no choice. After all, the police needed evidence to solve a case. He said, "Let him go. It's nothing. After all, this is Jiangnan City. If he comes to trouble you, you can call me immediately." Wang Jiani said, "I don't mind. It's my own business. I'm afraid that I'll bring unnecessary trouble to Dr. Qin. Qin Haodong smiled carelessly. Don't worry. He's not qualified to come to trouble me. While they were talking, the competition officially began. The song that the little fellow sang today was the children's song Good Father. Her sweet voice and excellent performance won the applause of the audience immediately. Qin Haodong was deeply moved when he saw his daughter's performance on the stage. He could feel the little fellow's love for him. The blood connection between father and daughter was something that nothing could stop. Because it was the semi-final, the strength of the young contestants was much higher than that of the preliminaries. But the little fellow still won the first place with her excellent performance. To Qin Haodong's surprise, Wang Hongbing, who sang like a pig to be slaughtered, also made it to the finals by some unknown means. But it had nothing to do with him. As long as it didn't affect the little fellow, he didn't care about anything else. The semi-final was over. Finally, 10 young contestants were selected to participate in the final tomorrow night. To everyone's surprise, the organizer announced a new rule. In the final, each young contestant could invite a guest singer. Finally, the judges would evaluate the joint performance of the contestants and the guest singer, and judge the final result of the competition. Papa, I won the first place again. At the end of the competition, the little fellow threw herself into Qin Haodong's arms like a happy bird. Tang, you sang so well. You can win the first place in the final. Qi Weiner said sincerely. Although they hadn't known each other for a long time, she had completely fallen in love with this lovely little elf. Wang Jiani also said, Tang, you will definitely become a big star in the future. The little fellow shouted happily, Great. When I become a big star, I'll take Papa to sing everywhere. Qin Haodong smiled and said, Tang, what song are you going to sing tomorrow? Can you tell Papa? The little fellow said, Tomorrow is the final. I want to sing the song of the big star Ouyang Shanshan. Is that okay? Of course. As long as you like it, you can sing whatever you want. In Qin Haodong's mind, the most important thing was the happiness of the little fellow. The competition could only be ranked second. Wang Jiani said, Dr. Qin, the guest singer tomorrow is very important. You must find a way to help the little fellow find a strong guest singer, or it will affect her performance. If you don't have a suitable candidate, I have a few friends who are engaged in art and literature. They are good and have a little fame in Jiangnan City. You can ask them to help. Are there any capable guest actors? Qin Haodong smiled and said, Thank you. I don't need to bother you. I have a suitable candidate. Seeing that Qin Haodong had an arrangement, Wang Jiani didn't ask any more questions. They left the venue while talking and laughing. Soon after they went out, a black car suddenly sped up and stopped in front of them with a harsh braking sound. The door opened and Dong Chao came out. At the same time, 2 middle-aged men with gloomy expressions got off. After seeing Dong Chao, Wang Jiani, who was very happy before, showed a frightened look. Her body trembled slightly. She was really afraid of this villain. Qin Haodong comforted her, I'm here. Don't be afraid. At this time, Dong Chao came over and shouted arrogantly, Toy boy, I didn't expect that we would meet again so soon. Chapter 93. Bad guy, don't bully Miss Wang, or Papa will kick you like a ball. Tang shouted angrily. Your father? Your father is nothing. Dong Chao laughed arrogantly and said, I'm here to get even with your father today. See, he is a martial arts master I brought from Shanghai. Do you know what a martial arts master is? Ordinary people can't compare with him. Dong Chao pointed at the middle-aged man on the left and said, This is Master Zhang of Iron Palm. He has reached the 5th level of overt power, and his unique skill of Iron Palm can cut golden stones. If he wants, he can smash your father's head into a rotten watermelon with one slap. Then he looked at Qin Haodong provocatively and pointed at the middle-aged man on the right and said, Master Li is even more powerful. He has reached the 6th level of overt power, and is best at Foshan Shadowless Kick. Have you heard of Foshan Shadowless Kick? What you see on TV is fake, but what Master Li is doing is real. He can definitely kick you like a ball. The 5th level of overt power. The 6th level of overt power. He is indeed a master. Qin Haodong smiled disdainfully. He could easily find someone from the security company to kill him, not to mention him. Are you scared? He is a master invited by our Dong family. Dong Chao did not hear the sarcasm in Qin Haodong's words. He continued to say arrogantly, if you want me to let you go, I can let you go. First, make that bitch register with me again. She can only be my toy for the rest of her life. Second, you kneel down and apologize to me. I'll let you go when I vent my anger. Speaking of this, he glanced at Qi Wan-er who was standing next to him. Also, your little girl is not bad. Let her sleep with me for a few nights. If she makes me happy, I'll let it go. Wang Jiani was really scared. She was not a warrior, so she didn't know what level Qin Haodong had reached. Dong Chao's bragging made her think he was not as good as the two people in front of her. She said, I can promise you anything you want, but you must let go of my two friends. Dong Chao became more complacent and shouted, bitch, who do you think you are? How dare you bargain with me? I've already stated my conditions. If you know what's good for you, hurry up and do as I say, and this matter will be over. If you wait for the two masters to take action, the consequences will be dire. Wang Jiani was about to say something, but Qin Haodong pulled her back. He said to Dong Chao, you're right. There's no room for bargaining. Kneel down and apologize. Promise that you won't harass Ms. Wang in the south of the Yangtze River in the future, and I'll let it go. Otherwise, the consequences will be severe. Dong Chao was stunned. He had thought that Qin Haodong would kneel down and surrender. He didn't expect Qin Haodong to be so tough. Kid, you're courting death. He turned around and said to the two middle-aged men behind him, Masters, this kid won't shed a tear until he sees the coffin. I'll have to trouble you to teach him a lesson. Let me do it. The warrior surnamed Zhang said and stepped forward. This guy's palms were black and big. It seemed that he had some attainments in the iron palm. He cupped his hands towards Qin Haodong and said, Iron Palm Zhang Haitao, please advise me. Before Qin Haodong could say anything, Qi Wan-er said, let me do it. She knew that Qin Haodong had just been injured and didn't know how much he had recovered, so she took the initiative to stand up. Well, be careful when you do it. Don't make it too bloody. Of course, Qin Haodong didn't worry about Qi Wan-er. With her cultivation as a warrior of covert power, dealing with these two lousy guys was like bullying a child. What he worried about was that Qi Wan-er would beat them too hard and make it too bloody, which would be bad for the little fellow. Seeing Qin Haodong hiding behind Qi Wan-er, Dong Chao yelled, Toy boy, how could you let a woman do it for you? Shame on you. Qin Haodong smiled and said, it's a skill to have a woman do it for me. You can find one if you're capable. Humph, I'll deal with you later. Dong Chao said to Zhang Haitao, Master Zhang, be careful not to hurt this woman. We'll take her back to warm our bed later. Zhang Haitao grinned and said, don't worry, young master. I have tender feelings for the fairer sex. Such a beautiful girl, I won't hurt her. Seeing these two guys dared to take advantage of her, Qi Wan-er's face darkened and she reached out to grab Zhang Haitao. Zhang Haitao didn't care about her white and tender little hand at all. He reached out his big hand to grab her. In his opinion, Qi Wan-er was no match for his iron palm, and she would definitely fall into his arms. Unexpectedly, when the two hands touched each other, a sharp pain came. His iron sand palm, which he had practiced for more than 10 years, was scratched by Qi Wan-er and had 5 bloody holes on it. I've told you not to make it too bloody. Qin Haodong had no choice but to cover the little fellow's eyes. Papa, I'm not afraid. The little fellow pulled Qin Haodong's hand down and shouted to Qi Wan-er, come on, auntie. Beat the big bad guy hard. After being injured, Zhang Haitao didn't dare to be careless anymore. His other palm hit Qi Wan-er's temple hard. Qi Wan-er raised her hand to grab his wrist and twisted it gently. With a crack, Zhang Haitao's wrist bone was directly broken. Zhang Haitao had practiced the iron palm for more than 10 years, but in a blink of an eye, both of his hands were broken and he immediately lost the ability to fight. Foshan Shadowless Kick. Seeing that his comrade was injured, Li Fei, who was watching the battle from the side, immediately leaped into the air. Both of his legs turned into a sky full of leg shadows as he kicked at Chi Wan-er. Chi Wan-er lifted her leg and kicked Zhang Haitao away. Then she kicked Li Fei. Seeing that Chi Wan-er dared to kick back at him, Li Fei sneered. He had trained his legs for 20 years and could easily break a wooden stake as thick as the mouth of a bowl. In comparison, Chi Wan-er's slender long legs were vulnerable. In the blink of an eye, the two legs collided with each other. Then there was a crack and Li Fei screamed. His right leg, which was powerful enough to break a wooden stake, had become V-shaped. He didn't know that Chi Wan-er was not only a master of covert power, but also had a rare physique of gold property. Although she looked weak, her body was as tough as thwart kung fu, like golden bell shield and iron shirt. How could he, a warrior at the 6th level of overt power, compare with her? Dong Chao, who was complacent, was completely dumbfounded. He didn't expect that the two masters he had spent a lot of effort to poach from his family would be beaten by a woman with only 2 moves. And their kung fu was completely destroyed. Even if Qin Haodong didn't punish him, he wouldn't be able to explain it to his family. But he didn't care so much. Seeing that things were going bad, he immediately got into the black car next to him and closed the door, ready to escape. But Chi Wan-er, who had been provoked by him for a long time, would never let him go. She came to the door of the car in 2 steps, reached out her hands and pulled the door down. Then she grabbed his collar and dragged him out of the car. Wang Jiani was stunned. She couldn't believe that Chi Wan-er, who was more petite and cute than her, had such a powerful fighting ability. She could even break the iron sheet of the car. She really couldn't figure out who was with Qin Haodong. Chi Wan-er lifted Dong Chao like a chicken, walked to Qin Haodong, and threw him hard on the ground. It was a heavy fall. Dong Chao snorted and almost threw up his dinner. "Brother Qin, how should we deal with this bastard? Should we break his limbs?" Chi Wan-er looked at Dong Chao angrily, holding a grudge against him for flirting with her. Dong Chao trembled with fear and hurriedly begged, "No, please don't. Brother Qin, I know I'm wrong. Please forgive me this time. I won't do it again." Qin Haodong handed the little fellow to Wang Jiani, and then squatted down in front of Dong Chao. He patted Dong Chao's cheek and said, "Everyone makes mistakes. You're a good comrade if you can correct your mistakes." Dong Chao was overjoyed, thinking that Qin Haodong was going to let him go. He hurriedly said, Yes, I'll definitely repent in the future." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "It's good to repent, but you have to pay the price for your mistakes. If an apology is enough, why do we need the police?" Dong Chao realized that the young man in front of him was not so easy to fool. He asked in horror, "Then what do you want? You scared Ms. Wang just now. You have to pay the price." Qin Haodong said, "I asked you for 1 million yuan last time. You still have money to hire bodyguards. I'll take 2 million yuan this time. What do you think?" As he said that, he glanced at Dong Chao's limbs, which meant that he would break them immediately if Dong Chao didn't agree. "No, of course I don't. I'll pay for it." Dong Chao was scared. He hurriedly took out his phone and transferred the money to Wang Jiani's account. "You're quite a tactful person. You've made me feel embarrassed to deal a heavy blow." Qin Haodong smilingly patted Dong Chao's shoulder and said, "But people like you don't have a good memory. If I don't make you suffer, you'll definitely come to me again. I'll leave this as a souvenir for you." Then he grabbed Dong Chao's head and twisted it slightly. With a crack, Dong Chao's neck was twisted 45 degrees to one side. What did you do to me?" Dong Chao cried in horror. "Don't worry. Your neck is not broken, and it won't affect your health at all." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "I just watched The Legend of Deification a few days ago, and thought Shen Gongbao's style was very cool. So I made a new one for you according to his style. Keep it like this from now on. It'll be a souvenir for you in case you forget it again in a few days. Listen to me. Be a good man and maybe you can change it back one day. Don't think about going to other hospitals for treatment. It's useless. People will say that your neck is congenital." Dong Chao's expression changed greatly. How could he go out and cheat women in the future with a crooked neck? Besides, it would be shameful if he went back to the circle in Shanghai. "Little brother Qin, please let me go. Give me my neck back. I'm willing to pay another 2 million yuan, or even 4 million yuan. Qin Haodong said with a smile, some things can't be solved with money. Don't think you can solve everything with money. You should have been prepared to bear the consequences when you came to me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please let me go. Seeing that Dong Chao would not stop, Qin Haodong's face darkened and he said, I'll count to 3. If you don't leave by then, I don't mind twisting your head completely to the back and giving you a new style. 3. Dong Chao immediately got up from the ground and turned around to run after counting. After seeing Qin Haodong's means, he didn't think it was a joke. Chapter 94. The big bad guy ran away, the big bad guy ran away. The little fellow shouted happily, and then she said to Chi Wan, beautiful aunt, you are so awesome. Can you teach me? Baby, you better learn from your dad. You can't learn my kung fu. Chi Wan-er's cultivation and physique were left by the ghost fetus. Ordinary people really couldn't learn it. Oh, okay. The little fellow pouted and looked a little disappointed. Tang, you should practice the smart method Dad taught you, and you will be better than me in the future. The Xintian Emperor's Heart Sutra that Qin Haodong taught the little fellow was the supreme cultivation method in the cultivation world, much higher than Chi Wan-er's. The little fellow didn't see anything when she just started cultivating, but she would make great progress in a few days, which was not comparable to ordinary cultivation methods. Really, I will practice hard. The little fellow was happy again. At this time, Wang Jiani came over and said, Dr. Qin, thank you for helping me again. Qin Haodong said, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. Wang Jiani said again, Dr. Qin, you asked for the 2 million yuan. It's not appropriate for me to keep it. I better give it back to you. I don't need it. That bastard owes you. It's appropriate for you to keep it. Then I'll treat you and Sister Wan-er to dinner. Wang Jiani really didn't know how to express her gratitude. This time, Qin Haodong didn't refuse and said, sure. Let's go for a big meal and celebrate the little fellow's first place. Okay, let's go for a big meal. I'm going to have a big meal. The little fellow clapped her hands happily. The four found a Western restaurant and had a big meal. Then Qin Haodong sent Wang Jiani home, and they also returned to the Lin's villa. Because it was too late, Chi Wan-er went directly back to the number 6 villa, and Qin Haodong took the little fellow to Lin Momo's home. When they entered the door, Lin Momo was already back. The little fellow said with some hidden bitterness, Mom, I won the first place again today. Unfortunately, you didn't see it. Lin Momo hugged the little fellow and kissed her, saying apologetically, I'm sorry, Tang. Mom does have something to do today, but I'll definitely cheer for you in the finals tomorrow night. The little fellow immediately widened her eyes and said happily, Mama, you must keep your word. Of course, she still hoped that her parents would accompany her to the competition. Yes, of course, I will keep my word. Lin Momo said affirmatively. Let's make a pinky promise. The little fellow stretched out her white and tender little finger and hooked it with Lin Momo's. Lin Momo put her on the ground and said, Go and play with Grandpa. Seeing the little fellow running to Lin Xian, Qin Haodong said, Why are you still at work tonight? What are you busy with? I got the news tonight that the Feng family shipped a batch of raw jade gemstones, so I went to have a look. Qin Haodong said, Oh, last time, didn't you say that the Feng's group had shipped a batch of raw jade gemstones, which affected our side? No, Lin Momo said with a puzzled face. That's what I'm worried about. The Lin family has shipped 2 batches of raw jade gemstones from Myanmar, but there's no movement at all. They haven't done any publicity, and the sales there haven't improved. It's still deserted. If I were the head of the Feng's group and got so many new raw jade gemstones, I would definitely carry out publicity with great fanfare, and then use other means of promotion to pull customers back and reverse the decline. I really don't understand what they're doing. Qin Haodong thought about it and didn't understand what the Feng family wanted to do. He said, Don't worry, I'll go to their place tomorrow and buy some of their new raw gemstones. That's great. Lin Momo now knew Qin Haodong's ability. As long as he took action, the Feng family would not be able to make any waves. After putting the little fellow to sleep, Qin Haodong returned to his home. The third floor was completely unusable, so he and Qi Wan lived in the room on the second floor. Early the next morning, Qin Haodong called Nalan Wushuang and asked her to come to his house. First, he wanted to talk about Qi Wan joining the daddy security company, and second, he wanted her to help find someone to repair the house. After the phone call, he went to Qi Wan-er's room. He felt that Qi Wan-er was not good at cultivating by instinct. After thinking about it, the cultivation method of the killing Rakshasa sect in the cultivation world was very suitable for the metal constitution. He directly passed this set of cultivation method to Qi Wan-er and taught her how to cultivate. As soon as Qin Haodong finished explaining, Nalan Wushuang came in. When she saw the beautiful Qi Wan-er, her face changed. She didn't expect that every time she came to Qin Haodong's house, there would be a beautiful woman. She asked, "Is this your client again?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Wrong. This is not a client, but a new employee of our company." "Employee? What employee?" Nalan Wushuang didn't understand for a while. Qi Wan-er came over and said with a smile, "Sister Nalan, don't you know me? I'm Wan-er." "What? You're Wan-er?" When they met that day, Qi Wan-er was wearing black clothes and her face was black. Now she seemed to be a different person. No wonder Nalan Wushuang didn't recognize her. Qi Wan-er said excitedly, "Yes, Sister Nalan. My illness was cured by Brother Qin, and now I'm a member of Daddy's security company." "Really? That's great." Seeing that Qin Haodong cured Qi Wan-er, Nalan Wushuang was also very happy. She said, "You let Sister Wan-er join our company. How about the level?" Qin Haodong thought for a while and said, "Wan-er's hacking skills are the best. She'll be a super bodyguard like me. And she's the trump card of our company. She won't take any tasks for the time being." Wow, so powerful. Nalan Wushuang didn't expect that Qin Haodong would give such a high evaluation of Qi Wan-er, which made her very surprised. "You'll know whether I'm powerful or not when you see it," Qin Haodong said and took Nalan Wushuang to the third floor. Seeing the terrible situation in the living room, Nalan Wushuang was shocked and asked in surprise, "What's wrong? How could it be like this?" The furniture in the living room had been broken into pieces. Even the hard walls and floors had been broken. If it was more serious, the house would be directly demolished. She really couldn't understand who could have such a great destructive power. Qi Wan-er said with embarrassment, "Sister Nalan, I did all this." "What? You did it? Are you kidding me?" Nalan Wushuang couldn't imagine how such a delicate and lovely Qi Wan-er could have such a great destructive power. "It's true. I did it." Qi Wan-er briefly told the story of how she became a ghost slave and how she was saved by Qin Haodong. Finally, she said, "Sister Nalan, I'll pay for the damage of repairing the house." "No need. We have a decoration company under the Nalan family. I'll ask them to clean it up." Nalan Wushuang knew how strong Qi Wan-er was. She was simply a female Tyrannosaurus in human form. After handing Qi Wan-er to Nalan Wushuang, Qin Haodong drove away from home and rushed to the exhibition center. Originally, he wanted to see what the Fangs group was up to. However, when he was halfway there, his phone rang. It was Nalan Wuxia. He said with a smile, "Officer, why do you call me? Are you going to invite me to dinner?" Nalan Wuxia said, "Come to the crime squad as soon as possible. I'll invite you to dinner when it's done." "Do you want me to help you interrogate again? If it's like this again, give me a police certificate tomorrow. Just let me be a police officer," Qin Haodong said. He quickly turned the steering wheel in his hand and drove in the direction of the crime squad. When he arrived at the crime squad of Jiangnan City, he saw not only Wang Jianfeng and Nalan Wuxia, but also Feng Chuanxiong, the leader of the special task force of the police department. "Brother Qin, you're here." After seeing Qin Haodong, Feng Chuanxiong immediately greeted him warmly. Qin Haodong said, "Leader Feng, what's the matter?" "Of course I wouldn't invite you if I didn't." Nalan Wuxia's relationship with Qin Haodong was more familiar, so she spoke bluntly. Feng Chuanxiong said, "Here's the thing, Brother Qin. Recently, our intelligence personnel in Burma sent information that the drug trafficking group in the Golden Triangle has sent a large number of drugs into our country through secret means. But what means did they use? Where did these drugs go?" At present we don't know. Just yesterday we arrested a local drug lord in Jiangnan City. This person has always been close to the Golden Triangle. He must know the secret of this drug trafficking. But after a night of surprise interrogation, we didn't get any useful information. We don't know whether this person is stubborn or he doesn't know the information, so we want to ask Brother Qin to help us confirm. Wang Jianfeng followed and said, "Here's the thing. If Dr. Qin doesn't know after asking, then it's confirmed that he doesn't know. We'll find another way." "Well, no problem. I can still do this little thing." Qin Haodong agreed very simply. It was really not difficult for him to interrogate this kind of thing. "Then I'll have to trouble Brother Qin." After Fang Chuanxiong finished speaking, he immediately took Qin Haodong to the interrogation room. After entering the door, they saw a thin man in his 40s sitting on an iron stool. The man's face was pale, his body was thin, and his eyes were dull. He looked like a typical drug addict. 10 minutes later, they left the interrogation room together and sat in the conference room again. Fang Chuanxiong said with a serious look, "Through Brother Qin's interrogation just now, we have indeed gained a lot. First, we can be sure that the Golden Triangle did transport a large number of drugs to our country, and the location is probably in Jiangnan City." Wang Jianfeng said, "It's a pity that this person is just a drug dealer. He doesn't know much about the Golden Triangle. It would be good if he could tell us the specific location of the drug trade." Naylan Wuxia said, "This time the Golden Triangle has a large number of drugs, and the means are secret. These drug dealers will not know the exact information until the end. If we want to find these drugs, we have to rely on our later work." Qin Haodong said, "This is the police's business. If you need any help, call me." Being able to clarify this information is already of great significance to our police case. "Brother Qin, thank you so much." Fang Chuanxiong sent Qin Haodong out with great gratitude. "You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."